my thing is,
all you guys answers
you don't even have.
Hold on. All you guys answers was you start him outside. You start him outside. No, you have to do something in the field that you're in, and that's the only point I'm trying to get to. You have to do something in the field that you're in to make you a superstar. You just don't walk in a superstar. LeBron was a superstar when he walked into the NBA. Why? Because he destroyed the high school game of basketball. Destroyed it. That's why he walked in a superstar.
Yes.
Tell me when I'm wrong. Tell me, you have to have, all I'm saying is I get you guys. Outside goes with inside, but none of you guys named anything inside. That's why I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Everybody's like, start him outside. People gotta know you. You gotta be fan base. Jeremy Lin is a superstar. No, the hell he is not. Welcome back to another episode of From the Sideline podcast. I'm Troy. My trusted co-host Pete cannot make it today, but he will be here on Wednesday's show. So go make sure you guys check it out. We got some special planned for you guys Tuesday. We're trying to get a Christmas show going for the 24th, Christmas Eve. We'll let you guys know. I'm trying to have a packed house then, so we could go off on all Christmas themed sports. You feel me? But we got 4 guests in the building today. 3 of them, one is new. So without further ado, let's get them up in here. And I'll see you guys when they're here. What's up, guys? We got the guests in the building. We like to jump into it because we don't like to waste no time. We got Roy back in the house. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing good, man. Feeling good. Glad to be here.
GK is finally back in the house. What's up, GK?
Hey, yo.
How's everything, man? We missed you over here. We got Uncle Frank back in the building. What's up? Tighten up.
And the belly full effect. Tighten up.
And we got a new guest, Lewis. Introduce yourself for the people, man.
Hello, my name is Louis Tenor. New to this program, but no stranger to the podcast world whatsoever. I've been involved in this now for a good 8 years.
8 years, that's good. Well, thank you for coming on the show, man. We appreciate it. And what happened? What did you say, Louis? Oh, okay. So so we're gonna jump right into it. You know how we like to do. I want to thank all you guys for being here. I know we got stuff going on in our lives, but let's get it. Let's have some fun, and let's say no more, man. We got to start off in the one place, that everybody is excited about. Your boy Steph Curry taking the lead in 3 points of made. All time, and I want to hear some thoughts on it. It's 2,977 as of today. Now I think the Warriors play tonight. I think they play Boston tonight. My damn team.
Yes.
Sorry, Larry. So what's your thoughts? We're gonna start with you, Lewis. What's your thoughts on Steph Curry breaking the 3-point record, and what does it mean to the NBA?
Well, it's a phenomenal record that they broke, breaking Ray Allen's mark, which I thought was going to last for quite a while. I mean, I'll give you this. He is a dynamite player, no question about it. I mean, and when Clay comes back, the Warriors are going to be even more dangerous. I mean, that's how it's going to turn out. The only thing I'm disappointed is he did against my Knicks at the Garden on Tuesday, so that's my only problem right there. A well-deserved honor. We knew it was going to happen because going into Tuesday's game, he was only 2 away from breaking it. So it was only a question of when he was going to do in that game, barring an injury, of course. But other than that, I knew it was going to happen. And all the media was there and whatnot. So this was like an event for the NBA and a well-deserved one. Unfortunately, the game was good up until like midway to the fourth quarter, and then the Knicks just lost momentum. And what was going to be somewhat of a great game turned to be a bit of a mismatch. But I'm glad for Curry. Now I just go to our side and do it over here.
GK.
Yeah, I just think it's great with the timing. And what I mean by that is in terms of this point in time, like as far as the history of the game and the evolution of the game, he came at the perfect time because they said, I think Reggie said at his time, the NBA teams only shot 5 3-pointers a game as a team, as a whole entire team. And now we got like several players on one team shooting like a minimum of 5 threes every game. So not only did he obviously have a big influence in changing that, but I kind of think that it all was a perfect storm in terms of the timing where like, the game was going to allow that to happen and all the coaches and players were going to, accept and embrace like that style happening and all that. And yeah, what a perfect time for him, because you might say like in another era he never would have made it, because they never would have allowed him to do that, or the game wouldn't have allowed him to do that, or the coaches wouldn't have allowed him to do that. But that's what he does. He shoots the ball like that, and he came at the right time where the game accepted it and the world accepted it. And he's still got, I would say, a good 4 or 5 years left. So he's going to push the first place margin by a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for him.
Good, guys. Feed off each other.
Yeah, I'll go ahead
I'm
and say, man, I think it
go
was sorry to interrupt you, man, but I think it was
go
like
ahead.
best place to do it, man. You're at the Mecca of basketball up there in New York, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, you couldn't pick a better place than in the biggest market in the world. And just that game was so emotional for everyone, man. It was just so cool. It's like everyone was counting down the threes, man. That's just that's an experience right there, man. And I think that, I mean, GK said something great, is just like how big is this first place league gonna grow, man? I mean, who's gonna catch them? I mean, that's obviously a topic for another day, but man, I just think he can extend this lead. I mean, I think he can make it unreachable, but who knows how the game develops. The game's always changing. That's one thing about basketball. It's never stagnant.
That's right. I mean, and it has become more of a 3-point shooting league, especially I think in this generation, because back when I was young, the 3-point was just coming into play. Before 1980, you didn't have that. It was just 2-point shooting and whatnot. So I think the 3-point has, changed the whole complex of the game, and it's made for a lot better as a game as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think I started getting more into when the 3-point started taking effect in the 79-80 season. Yes, I'm that old enough to remember that. I'm not as young as I look, guys. I'm really not.
Uncle Frank, I think you're the last one that didn't say anything.
Yeah. Kudos. Congrats to Steph. It's just another testament to how great he's been, how he revolutionized the game, how and it's also classy on New York's part, just the way that they celebrated and the way that they were cheering him on. I thought that was real classy. Eventually,
it should have been a delay of game, Uncle Frank.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a special mark. But as great as that record is, I don't think that it'll stand. I don't think that it'll stand as long as people would think. Even with Steph still playing the next couple of years, I don't think it's going to be one of those John Stockton assist records that somebody's going to catch. If you look, James Harden, I believe, is like 4th place. He's like a couple hundred threes behind him. So I mean, there's a couple guys that longevity wise, if they could play long, then they'll be able to catch that record. But it's still in all at this point in his career for him to get that record. I believe he got it a lot quicker than everybody else, but it's still a great record for Steph, and he's definitely one of the pillars of the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, Steph got it in, I believe it was 700 games or 600, something like that. The other, Reggie and Ray Allen, was 1,300, 1,600 games. Some 13 or 16 was that. But I got a question. So as big, and anybody can start this off when I'm done with it, but as big as they made the Steph Curry breaking the 3-point record, why wasn't that done in the light for Ray Allen when Ray Allen broke it?
I would say it's because we're in the age now of social media, and just kind of making like events like that are big deals. I mean, you have Bleacher Report who will report what LeBron had for dinner, so like it's just one of those things where I think media just has a big focus now on big accomplishments like that and big achievements. I mean, such as like Twitter, Instagram, ESPN, and all that stuff. And it's also, I mean, being a Boston fan, Ray Allen. I mean, I hate it when he left, but I think the media just loves Steph Curry so much. I mean, how can you not? I understand, but I mean, he just has that superstar, that status to him. When you can talk to someone who doesn't know basketball and they know who Steph Curry is. So I think that's why that was so much of a big deal to everyone.
And social media has played a big part in it too. I mean, it wasn't really a big thing when you had Jordan, Iverson, Bird Brain, Larry Bird, that is. Sorry, I'm a big fan. It has played more of a bigger role in the last 10 years. Sometimes it can help but sometimes they can blow it way out of proportion because they get. I think social media can get a little too personal about a player's business and whatnot. So it can actually be a good thing or actually be a terrible thing, depending how you look at it. Because sometimes comments on social media, and they just like attack them, rather just in the locker room, and it wasn't, broadcast over every newscast and whatnot. So, social media has also played a big part in basketball, not
Definitely.
just sports in general. Sometimes it's for the good, but sometimes it can be damn downright ugly. Ugh.
Definitely. And also, I believe the way Steph actually got the record and how fast he got the record, I think you gotta you gotta give him a little bit more credit for that than you did the Ray Allens. I mean, and if you watch the game where Ray Allen broke it, they didn't pause the game as long just because they were in a close game with the Lakers, but still in all they did take their moment to show him their appreciation, and
But
they didn't make it a
3
spectacle
minutes.
leading up
They
into that
didn't-
game.
They didn't take 3 minutes.
No.
Like
I mean, they
just
did take 3 minutes just because they were playing they were playing
Ain't
the
no
Lakers
timeout.
and the game
3
was close
minutes,
at
bro.
that time. The game was
There's
close
no
at that
timeout,
time, and
3
also he
minutes,
did it
bro.
at home. He did it at home, so
Then you think it should be a longer timeout, maybe 5 minutes.
well,
Now I
Well,
understand.
I mean,
it's just the fact that Steph Curry is Steph Curry, so you got to make it a big deal because this guy, he's evolutionizing the game, especially the three-point shooting.
yeah.
Do I think it would be broke? I definitely think it would be broke. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not going to be broke. But yeah.
Yeah, I think exactly what Roy was saying. Like, not just the fact that it's social media, but because of the fact that it's social media, like, and he's a superstar, not only in his own right, but like as a representation of the NBA. So if I am like a lead marketing person, I'm like, yeah, double down on this. Take the 3 minutes, take whatever, hype it up as much as possible, make as big of a deal as much as possible. Everybody in the world's going to see it. It's going to be in all the headlines, da 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 da. And it's just good for your product. Like, his personal brand and the NBA as a brand, it's because now all the kids are going to look at it. Everybody's going to know about it. And, it's just going to help market and promote the like basketball itself and Steph Curry himself.
Anybody else got anything to add before we move on?
And could it be because it was in the Garden? Maybe. I mean, you're in the Garden.
It was the perfect place.
You could it's the perfect place if you are going to take that time to give them that appreciation. I would assume that a place like the Garden, the Staples Centers, and him playing at home in the Oracle, those type of places will give him a little bit more, will show him a little bit more love and appreciation just because of the tradition and the standards of those arenas and those venues.
Agree.
All right. Louis,
So
you look
maybe.
like you wanted to say something.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, if they was in Cleveland, they'd be like, all right, moving on.
Right. The Kings, they'd be like, not even a stop. Crowds wouldn't have cheered or nothing. But I got an important question for you guys. Whoever want to start it off, feed off each other, do your thing. What is a superstar?
I'll go ahead and go, man. I think
right.
when I think of a superstar, I think of someone, and it's kind of go back to what I said about Steph before. It's like, if I don't watch the game of basketball and you name a player, do I know him? Because like, you don't have to watch basketball to know LeBron. You don't have to watch basketball to know Steph Curry.
But can it, let me ask you something. Can it be a difference between superstar and iconic? Or do you think they're the same thing?
I think they're the same thing. I think they go hand in hand with each other, to be honest with you.
Pause, Royce. GK, why you make that face, bro?
Because I was thinking about it, and I agree with Roy. I think
hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, finish.
Because I think it's the difference between that and star power.
Right.
Like being
That's
a,
where I was
being
going
a
next.
superstar and having star power are two different things.
Yeah, I wanted to know what you made that face for, because every time you make a face, you thinking. So we know you the sports guy that write the column, so we definitely got to see what you're thinking, bro. But go ahead, finish your point, Roy.
Yeah, I mean, like, but also you have to have, the status to you. Status is everything when it comes to that. Yeah, obviously your play on the court has to back that up, because there's a big difference between star and superstar. I mean, it's all about that brand you have, that name you make for yourself. And very few people achieve that superstar status. So.
It's what you do also, off the court as well as on the court.
Mm-hmm.
And, But some, of course, these superstars, have a big ego problem. I'm not going to mention who, but
LeBron.
it does. But it also makes it kind of an ass as well. So a superstar, can be all different kind of things. Jordan was considered a superstar, of course. Magic Johnson was also one. Larry Bird, they were all like superstars.
Was Wilt a superstar?
Was what?
Was Wilt a superstar?
Well, of course, but that was before
You consider superstars.
In fact, that was more of a term like when the 80s and 90s came.
Mhm.
Back when Wilt played, basketball wasn't a big deal. It wasn't really, well known like it is today. It's a lot different than it was back in the 60s. That was before I was even born. Thank you very much. But they throw on the likeness and popularity, as well as what they do on the court as well. So that's what I think what a superstar is.
Yeah, I think
Wilt, totally agree.
Wilt meets the definition.
Yeah, definitely.
Wilt meets the definition of it. I mean, he was averaging 40 a night and 10 women per night. So I mean, if that ain't a superstar, I don't know what ain't.
Only 10 women? I thought it was 20.
He was averaging some number of women a night. I don't know how he had the energy, but GK, Uncle Frank, what you got thoughts on it?
Yeah, I believe a superstar is somebody that transcends even outside the sport. Like my perfect definition of the superstar that transcends outside the sport would be most likely like a Ali. Like the stuff that Ali did outside of the ring and what he stood for outside of the ring, that also transitioned to him being successful in the ring. And that transition, well, that created the aura around him and that greatness. I'm trying to think of another example of a superstar that transitioned. Well, Michael Jordan. Yeah, Michael Jordan would be a perfect example. And back to your original question about superstars and icons, I'm not sure if they do go hand in hand. Because I'm trying to think, and me being a diehard Laker fan, I don't, as great as I think Kobe Bryant is, and as much as I think he's a outright superstar and an outright legend, I don't think I'm not sure if I can put him in the same category as a Michael Jordan or Ali, of guys that transcended outside of their sport.
But would you consider him an icon?
I mean, I
would.
But he won a what's it called? He won an Academy Award
for different reasons.
You said for different
for the documentary, I give him. But when you think of, do you think outside? I think it's only because of Kobe's death that he's been put in that Ali Jordan. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm a diehard Lakers fan. Maybe I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this.
Uncle Frank, let me ask you something. When you was growing up in school and you threw a piece of paper in the garbage, what'd you say?
I mean,
how could you have that? How could we all have that and you not?
Yeah, but that's. I mean, I've screamed Dirk Nowitzki at times. I screamed Ginobili. I've screamed a bunch of players. I wouldn't put just me shooting a paper basketball and screaming somebody's name, because I've said a bunch of names when I've dunked a paper basketball. I've said Shaq, or I've said Vince Carter or Dominique. You feel me?
Yeah, but if you took
think a
superstar person, like they all say Kobe.
What? Never mind. I'm not.
Kevin Durant is a superstar. Kevin Durant is a superstar. Kevin Durant is not a superstar in the same breath as a Michael Jordan.
But they're both superstars. You think it's different layers to being a superstar?
It's different level. I think it's another level to superstardom.
Oh, you're right.
That's what I'm trying to definitely have levels. So you have your superstar, you have your stars, you have all stars, you have your stars, your all stars, superstars, and then you have those iconic players, the Mount Rushmore type of players, Those are the ones who I put in the iconic category.
Fair enough.
If you wouldn't put them on the Mount
So you're
Rushmore,
saying you got to be Mount Rushmore to be an icon.
yeah, that's
Okay,
what I'm
okay.
saying. You got to be.
That's fair.
In that breath, in that sense, I don't see Kobe as one of those type of guys, even though he can be, because he was probably one of the most talented guys in our era as far as the basketball wise. But you look at guys like Allen Iverson, who had that same type of impact. I would pick Iverson. I will pick Iverson and his crossover appeal. I will pick him before I pick Kobe. Like those two guys are more so in the same category than they are with the Michaels and the Alis and those type of players, and even the Will Chamberlain, just his iconic his mythology and the stories about him. Those alone put him in a category, I think, of an iconic status that certain athletes, even if they are better basketball players than him, they still want to be able to touch that type of iconic status. That's what I was trying to say. And I just think that it intensified Kobe's iconic status with his death. Because when Kobe was alive, Kobe did not get the appreciation that I think that he deserved. Maybe it could have been probably because of the stuff in the past. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah,
but a lot of that stuff might have transitioned to how people view and looked at Kobe. So I just think that it's levels when you're talking superstars or icons.
That's a good point.
Roy, it looked like you had some stuff to say that you wanted to say there for a second while Uncle Frank was talking.
Who, me?
Yeah, your name Roy.
Yeah, it is, I guess. I was just thinking a little bit because I was
talk to me.
No, because I really started to understand what you were saying. But I mean, you know how you separated it, because I
was all over the place at first. I was trying to find
no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, because I tied together iconic and superstar. But you know what? After you kind of broke that down into saying there's certain levels of it, I still think the superstars are still iconic, but kind of in their own right, but not on the same level as the truly iconic players. So I mean, yeah. I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
So how long would it take for somebody to become a superstar? Because in my definition, it's a 5-year span of playing above the rest. So when we're just talking about on the court superstar, what do you say, Louis?
At least 5 years.
At least 5 years. Because I used to have 3 to 5, but now I'm like, 3 to 5. Everybody has like a 3-year clip where they kind of do good. Some of the important players on teams, but not every important player on a team is a superstar. You feel right? You understand what I'm saying?
I disagree with all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe 3 the most, at the most. I mean, if you look at a guy like a Micah Parsons, you can if Micah Parsons can put up numbers like this next year, he can definitely be considered a superstar talent.
I think we're using the term superstar too loosely. Not everybody can come up and be a superstar.
Agreed.
That's what you have to understand. There has to be a criteria, a list. It can't just be, they have to be iconic. They have to be this. It literally has to be a criteria on the court for people to be a superstar. What is the criteria of LeBron being a superstar? He did it for 5 or more years. KD, 5 or more years. Steph, 5 or more years. Who else do you consider a superstar? Giannis? I don't consider Giannis a superstar yet just because he won a ring. He hasn't done it consistency yet. Now he's on that 3rd going into 4th year, but when he gets to 4 and 5, then we can see what type of player Giannis will completely be. Jokic is on the verge of being a superstar in my eyes, but he just needs a couple of more years to keep the consistency, because you can't call somebody a superstar if they have 2 good years or 3 good years and then 4 and 5 years they drop off. That's not a superstar.
No, I'm saying at that third year.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is at the 3rd year, they can drop off considered a superstar.
But let's just talk about the 3rd year. You just talking about them being considered a superstar? Are you saying that they have to be?
It has to be a criteria.
5 years. It has you put in a 5 year. So LeBron James by his 3rd year was absolutely.
But that's LeBron is the exception, just like Michael is the exception, because they both came in superstars already. Yeah. There are certain players that come into the league superstars already. Luka came in everybody's eyes a superstar already. I don't consider Luka a superstar. Luka got to show me at least this 1 more year, because he played 4. So he got to give me this year to be consistent, make it out that 1st round, and then I could be like, all right, who are we gonna say? LeBron?
I don't think we consider Luka a superstar.
A lot of people say Luka's a superstar.
Coming in.
Yes, a lot of people, because you got to remember he had a career.
You're talking about now?
He had a career overseas first. A lot of people say if Luka retired right now, he's going in the NBA Hall of Fame. Why? Because of his overseas career. Luka came into the league a superstar. And a lot of people's eyes,
that's
not
in
mine.
the Europe League.
I agree
respectfully,
I
it's
agree
only
with that.
respected. That's only respected so much in the US and in the NBA.
100% agree with that. But
most.
there's a lot of analysts out here saying that Luka's already a Hall of Famer just off of his EuroLeague, what he's done in the EuroLeague.
Can I go?
Go ahead, G.
Hit me, G.
You don't gotta ask, just butt in.
So for me, like I was saying before, I consider star power and being a superstar two different things. So you're saying like for you, I get what you're saying. Like you have to have a list of criteria and check.
Yeah, and it has to be consistent. It can't just be 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. You ain't doing that good.
For me, it's a little different, right? It's some sort of combination of like a combination of carrying your team for however many moments, but also if you're a little bit less in that category, you can still become a superstar by making up for it in like how famous you are in terms of being a superstar. And that's not in terms of having star power for your team, right? So for instance, like I would consider Jeremy Lin a superstar. And Jeremy Lin's not star power whatsoever by any means, right? But I would consider him a superstar because of his international following. Like worldwide, I would say millions and millions of people know who he is. Like just from his 35-game run with the Knicks, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, GK. But that's more on the iconic side. That's why I asked the question in the beginning. Is being a superstar and being iconic the same thing? Because if you could separate the two, being iconic, that was Jeremy Lin. Nobody, you go ask any NBA player, the last guy on everybody's bench was Jeremy Lin, a superstar, and they're going to tell you no. He's iconic. He has star power, yes, because of what he did.
I think the opposite. I think
he's not a superstar.
I don't think he does have star power.
At any criteria is Jeremy Lin a superstar.
I don't think he has star power, but I would consider him a superstar just because of how well known he is.
No,
not because of his basketball.
So what criteria makes him a superstar? Just that he's known that well? Every basketball player is known that well. Look at Jordan Poole. Is Jordan Poole?
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Jordan Poole is known around the world now for what he's doing on the Warriors. Is he a superstar?
No, because if you go
would you put that on the same level as Jeremy Lin?
No, because
I'm asking.
What?
Jeremy Lin had a short span of one season. That's not a superstar, bro. That's why I said the superstar term is getting thrown around too loosely. Yeah, we all have different opinions on what a superstar is. Honestly, but a superstar should meet a criteria in the NBA. I'm not talking about out the NBA. I'm talking about it also has to be a part of in the NBA. You have to have consistency in the NBA. Like, why you think people get called bust? Hold on, GK. Why do you think people get called bust? Because they have expectations to do something that they don't do, right? So if Luka came in with this high expectation and he was garbage his first 4 years, what is everybody's thought on Luka? Oh, he's a bust. He's probably going to be a bust. But Luka's coming out in his first 4 years statistically is better than a lot of players that we love, LeBron, in them first 4 years. And that's why a lot of people are calling him superstar. He has contents behind it. He has 4 years of putting up these type of numbers and being one of the best players in his conference. Not his division, his conference. That's what I'm saying. There has to be some criteria to a player. We're not talking about outside the NBA. We're talking about in the NBA. Like it has to be some criteria that they have to meet. Or you have to win a championship. You have to make in that 5 years at least all 5 All-Star games. You have to be listed on the first NBA All-Star team. There has to be some type of criteria to list guys, because then we could just go down the list and say everybody's a superstar. Is Devontae Murray on the Spurs a superstar?
No. So for me, that's a difference between an elite
player. He's the best player on that team.
Yeah, but
he's not.
For me, there's a difference between like being an elite player and being a superstar. Like I almost feel like you could not register 1 minute in the NBA and you could still be a superstar.
No,
like,
that's false.
Like is Kim Kardashian not a superstar? She never played.
We're talking about. See, GK, I love you, GK. We're talking about basketball. Keep the content. Don't try to flip it. We're talking about what it takes to be a superstar in the NBA. Nowhere else. We're not talking about no criteria for nowhere else. We're talking about inside the NBA. What does it take for you to be a superstar? It doesn't take I used to think it was 3 years, but then I saw that in that 3 year span, yeah, you can go off, and then your 4th year, you can play bad. I've seen that done. You can play bad.
That's an elite player.
But that's great.
Because
there are
you
some
can be an elite player and not be a superstar.
That's a great
Kawhi
point.
Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's not a superstar, but he's an elite player.
Kawhi Leonard is definitely a superstar. I don't understand how you're saying he's not a superstar.
He's an elite
Kawhi
player.
Leonard was put in the same conversation as 2 superstars, LeBron and KD.
How many commercials has he been in? How many commercials has he been in?
Just in a rap video. What are you talking about, GK?
How many commercials has he been in?
He just was in a rap video. See, you're talking about on the marketing level. I'm talking about in the NBA.
That's
that means
being
they're play.
a superstar.
No, that
that's
means
not
they're
being
play.
good at basketball.
Listen,
it has to factor into superstardom.
No, yes, it has to factor into superstardom, but if you don't do what you do on the court, there ain't no way you get superstardom. No way in hell. I don't care who you are. If you're in the
but that's not true. Look at Odell.
Kim Kardashian, when she was around Paris, I'm about to kill your shit. When Kim Kardashian was around Paris Hilton, was she a superstar? No, she wasn't. There was fans that used to stand in front of Kim Kardashian and take pictures with Paris Hilton while Kim Kardashian stood behind them. That is not a superstar. She grew into her superstardom. Why? Because she had a 5-year or more run where she was the face of what she was doing. That's why Kim is a superstar. Why is that so hard to believe? It does. You have to do it in the company or in the field you're in. So I get it what you're saying. People outside a superstar, yeah, because they're superstars in the field they're in. A superstar, the outside of being the superstar in the NBA comes with the outside of stuff outside the NBA. It doesn't, that's not a hand in hand. You have to be a superstar to get
Odell Beckham.
So let me ask you something.
Considered a superstar. Odell Beckham is considered a superstar. And his production over the last 5 years have been
not because of his play.
So, but he's still
he's a superstar because of his fame.
Because he did something to get there.
He has a superstar appeal. That transition to him getting job.
Did he not?
Wasn't a superstar. But did he not do? He would be out of the league.
But if Odell, his first 5 years with the Giants, that's why he's a superstar. What are you guys talking about?
His first 2 years, I mean, the man got hurt, and then he came back. He played a couple more games, then he got shipped out.
Okay, but
he didn't have.
Okay, so why? So why?
Is Odell a Hall of Famer if he retires today?
Yes, Odell is a Hall of Famer if he retires today. I agree there. But we're talking about inside of the game. Odell has a resume. Odell has a resume to say why he is a superstar. That's what I'm saying to you guys. Take away the outside. What's the resume?
What's the resume?
Hold on, Frank. Take away. What's the resume? He's one of the best wide receivers. He's never led the league in catches.
He's never led it in yards. He's never led in touchdowns.
He's an electric. Yes, but Frank, that's what I'm saying. The outside of it goes with the inside. If Odell does not play the way Odell is, he is not a superstar. That's point blank period. That's what anybody.
He's in LA right now because he's considered a superstar.
That's fine because of what he has shown in his past. If LeBron had a bad year, you think people are going to stop calling LeBron a superstar? No. If KD had a bad year, you think people are going to stop calling KD a superstar? No. If KD, when Steph had that bad year with the team record, hold on, when Steph had the bad team record last year, when he was shitting, was people still calling Steph a superstar? Yes. That's my point. When you get the status, you can stay there. I'm not arguing that, Frank.
But my thing is,
all you guys answers hold on. All you guys answers was you start him outside. You start him outside. No, you have to do something in the field that you're in. And that's the only point I'm trying to get to. You have to do something in the field that you're in to make you a superstar. You just don't walk in a superstar. LeBron was a superstar when he walked into the NBA. Why? Because he destroyed the high school game of basketball. Destroyed it. That's why he walked in a superstar.
Yes.
Tell me when I'm wrong. Tell me, you have to have, all I'm saying is I get you guys. Outside goes with inside, but none of you guys named anything inside. That's why I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Everybody's like, start him outside. People gotta know you. You gotta be fan base. Jeremy Lin is a superstar. No, the hell he is not.
How's he not?
Yo, do you think
Uncle Frank, Jeremy Lin is a superstar?
LeBron,
Uncle Frank, Jeremy Lin is a superstar.
LeBron James Star Trek, huh?
Uncle Frank, Jeremy Lin is a superstar.
I would not consider him a superstar right now at this point. Agreed. But his time in New York, during that time,
no, he wasn't. He was just
absolutely a superstar.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's getting me tight, Uncle Frank. You're giving him a 35-game span and be like, oh, he's a superstar. Then let's do it to everybody. Let's do it to everybody. Rajon Rondo is a superstar. Rajon Rondo is a superstar. Rajon Rondo is a superstar. That's
no,
a
because
superstar.
how big of a
If I'm
following
going off
does
y'all
Rajon
criteria,
Rondo have in
Rajon Rondo
Asia?
is a superstar.
How big of a following does Rajon Rondo have in Asia?
A big one. He won a championship. More than Jeremy Lin has ever done for the game, and that's my point.
They don't know who the fuck Rondo is.
Everybody
Yo,
know
you
who
can't be
Rondo
serious,
is.
You think
Rondo
people that
did-
don't speak English don't know who
You just said
Rondo is?
Rondo. You think Rondo's more popular?
If you're gonna sit here and say Jeremy Lin is a superstar, I'm gonna tell you Rondo is a superstar because there ain't no way in hell Rondo or Jeremy.
Nobody knows who Rondo is, bro.
Nobody knows. Nobody.
goodness.
Where's Jeremy Lin at? Where's Jeremy Lin at?
With the Yamas.
Where's Jeremy Lin at? Somebody explain it to me.
If you went to China right now and went
somewhere
to a
with
high school in
dreads.
China and showed them a picture of Rondo and a picture of Lin, who do you think they're gonna know?
Oh, you say China? You said China?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they know Jeremy Lin? Come on,
That's what I'm
GK.
talking about. Do
You
they
don't
know,
think-
they know Rondo there?
Let's go to the hood. Let's go to the hood. Let me go outside and show them a picture of Jeremy Lin and Rondo, and who you think they're gonna point to first?
Do
I bet
you
they
think?
know Lin.
Do you think Rondo sold more NBA jerseys than Jeremy Lin in their
No.
time?
Facts.
No.
Maybe not.
No.
Maybe not. No, but that,
Of course not.
alone does not make you a superstar, bro.
So you telling me?
So
a
Carson
guy
Wentz
who's
is
won
an
two
NFL
NBA finals,
superstar
a
quarterback.
guy who's won two NBA finals, who's been on a team considered the Big Four. He's not.
No, I would consider
trying to
Rondo,
compare
and
him? You saying
I'm
that-
a big Boston fan. You see number 34 in the back. I'm telling you, Rondo
Okay,
is
so
not
we're
a
talking
superstar.
about the star power that trans.
Yes,
we're
but
talking
that's
about
what I'm
star
saying.
power, right?
For me, star power is different from being a star because having star power means,
So why?
means
So
that
tell
you
me
can
why
walk
are
in a
people
room
buying-
and
why
people
are they
will go
buying
crazy.
more
That's
Jeremy
star
Lin's
power.
jerseys
Being a
if the
superstar
guy
in the
that
NBA
has
has
the
nothing
more
to do
that
with
has
you
the
walking
stats
in
and
a
the
room.
rings is better?
But no, being a superstar in the NBA has nothing to do with you walking in a room and your star power. It has to do what you do on the court. That's my problem with it.
It's a
my
balance.
problem is
It's a
you have to
balance.
do something on the court.
You putting the
to
scale
even
more
be
on one
considered
side
a
than the other
superstar.
side.
No, I agree that there's an outside. I agree with that. I'm not putting it on one side. You guys all pointed it out that there's an outside of it. You can walk in a room and Jeremy Lin in his 35 games is a superstar because everybody knows his name. That's not a superstar. A superstar has to have a resume. Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony, superstar?
Both. He's both.
Superstar.
He's both. He had star
Yeah,
power
he's
and
both.
he had superstar.
No, but I'm not talking about star.
Then he got the wife, Lala.
What is the criteria? And I love this
tell you
conversation.
my criteria. Look,
I love
I'll
this
break it down
conversation.
super
What
easy
is the
for you.
inside the NBA criteria for somebody to be a superstar? I don't want to hear about the outside stuff because you have to do something to become a superstar.
It's just defined differently.
Right.
So
What is the guy Newman, the high school kid that was coming out of college and he was supposed to be the next guy to go to the NBA? Where is he now? Nowhere. Why?
I don't even know who that is.
He has nothing
listen.
right. You don't know who he is, but he was one of the top high school kids coming out of high school. But he's nowhere right now. He's somewhere on the
listen, I'm
side
explaining
training,
to
trying to
you
get
real
another
quick.
opportunity because he couldn't make it in college. That's my point.
Listen,
Did he
Somebody can
transcend high
shit.
school?
I stopped following him, but so I'm just pointing him out for a reason. You can be good.
But you can't
Look at
just
all
name
these
a good,
hold on.
name
So
a good
let's
player,
throw
but-
Newman out. Look at all these D1 YouTube stars. D1 that get beat by D2 or 3-3. Are you going to say that they're superstars too? Are you going to say somebody overseas that's coming off the bench or in the game, their number one guy went down, right? Because that's what happened with Jeremy Lin, right? Their number one guy went down and Jeremy Lin, next man up. Jeremy Lin had to step in. So you're going to tell me Jeremy Lin stepping in made him a superstar? That's yo, I want to be Stephen A. Record.
But his-
quick and say
but-
blasphemous.
No, that
You're
didn't
don't
make
like
him a
it.
ignoring his
superstar.
production.
That
You're
didn't make
ignoring
him
his
a
production.
superstar. What do you mean?
They was winning. They
What-
started
so what
winning. in
what
New York
made Jeremy
because of
Lin? What
Lin.
makes Jeremy Lin a superstar? What criteria
makes him
in
a
the
superstar?
NBA?
Him
In
winning.
the NBA. In the NBA. What in the NBA? Not outside the NBA. What makes him a superstar?
But that's my thing. I think you could be a superstar without having to do things
No.
in the NBA.
No. Then everybody that plays the game of basketball can be a superstar. Every
No.
single body.
No,
And that's not true.
No,
That's
no.
not true. By your logic, GK, everybody in the NBA can win,
No,
can be a
it's
superstar.
about
And that's
fame.
not true.
It's about fame, bro.
Everybody has fans. Every single NBA player
Yes,
has
but
fans.
Not the same amount though. Some have millions.
Okay, yes, that's because of their
So
following.
once you have millions of fans,
KD
that's
be
different
on
than
Twitter.
if you have
KD be
100
on
fans.
Twitter. So do you agree that KD became more iconic when he started going back at people on Twitter?
No.
I don't
Yes,
think
he
KD's
did.
iconic now.
Yes, he did. No, yes, but do you think he became more iconic when he started fucking clickbaiting niggas on Twitter? Yes, he did.
Yes, he
He
did.
grew. You think
His
he grew
name
his
grew.
following?
His
because
name
got his
grew because
most-
now
he got
people know.
his most
Now
traction
people
when he
know
went to-
that you
when he
can
went
go
to
on
Golden
Twitter and
State.
actually compensate with KD. So yes, his name grew more. I'm telling you that because I watch YouTube. I'm on Twitter.
I
know you are too.
I know you are
too,
State, bro.
Huh?
I based it on how large
Frank?
your come up is.
He got bigger when he went to Golden State. That's when KD became the real story of the league.
No, I'm not going to go for that. KD was a superstar before he went to Golden State. That's why everybody was mad that he went to Golden State.
He was a superstar.
No, he was a superstar before he went to Golden State. And that's why people were mad that he went to Golden State.
But he became bigger. He became a bigger story in Golden State than he ever was.
Because he won rings. Yes, I can agree there, Uncle Frank. We can agree.
Before they even won, he was the biggest story in the league for 2 years.
No, because what you got to remember is that people were saying KD couldn't get it done. KD couldn't win a chip. KD wasn't going to win a chip. He was up 3-1 to Golden State.
He was going to Golden State.
Right. And then that's why everybody was like, that's just not fair. Now you got 3 or 4 superstars on this team. That's why everybody was mad, because KD was already a superstar. He established himself in OKC as one of the best players to play the game. His numbers show it. His game show it. The eye test and statistics. That makes him a superstar. LeBron has the same thing. Jeremy Lin does not have that, GK. Jeremy Lin does not have that.
He has things that they don't have. So it's not
testicular fortitude. And
superstars can be made differently. They don't all have to have the same thing.
We're having 2 different conversations here. We're having 2 different. I'm talking about the criteria, and I don't know why I got to keep repeating this. I'm talking about the criteria inside of the game. Inside of the game. Inside of the game. Inside of it, not outside. We understand that. I said this already. We understand that there's an outside portion to the game. We all understand that. What I said was, I don't like the fact that every single one of you guys pointed towards the outside of the game and not what these players have to do inside of the league they play in to be a superstar.
Jeremy Lin did nothing on the court to
No, he was a good. What did Jeremy Lin do before the Knicks? After the Knicks in the NBA, right. Nothing to say he was a superstar. Right. So you can't sit here and tell me that Jeremy Lin's a superstar from a short sample of him being on the Knicks when he was in Golden State, got cut. He was on another team, got cut. After New York, what did he do? Get cut. That's not a superstar.
Bro, you're not wrong, but it doesn't matter.
He's always had a job.
Let me ask you a question.
Because of his superstardom. Sorry,
no,
GK.
Now y'all trolling.
His superstardom is keeping him in the league.
You trolling, Frank. Frank, you trolling, bro. Go ahead, GK. What you saying?
I think you hating on Jeremy Lin. You got to do.
No, I don't. I love Jeremy Lin and what he did for the Knicks, but I'm not going to.
I don't think you know his real star.
I follow Jeremy. I watched Jeremy Lin's documentary, bro. I know.
You can't be saying that. How could you?
Yes,
he was the biggest thing in the league. I'm going
to put this segment on TikTok, and I'm telling you, they're going to go crazy because you guys think that Jeremy Lin is a superstar.
Jeremy Lin, period. In New York, he was the biggest thing in the league.
Because your definition of a superstar is wrong. That's why.
No, it's not. Jeremy Lin. If you look up the definition of superstar, Jeremy Lin is not under that. Under no criteria. He has stardom. Yes, he has fame. And I think they're mixing fame with superstar. Just because you have fame doesn't make you a superstar. The top YouTube.
No, yes, it does. That's where you're wrong.
No, it doesn't, bro. The top YouTuber on YouTube is famous. He's not a superstar, bro.
Oh my God. Bro, let me explain something to you right now. Let me ask you something. If you have 2 slices of bread with 4 pieces of cheese on it, is it a sandwich? Yes. If you have 2 slices of bread with 2 pieces of cheese and 2 pieces of meat,
I cannot wait to drop this on TikTok, bro. I'm putting the 3-minute clip of this, GK. And GK, you follow me. So make sure you pay attention to the comments. They're going to kill you for this. I promise you they're going to kill you for it.
If it takes to here to get to a superstar, right? If it takes to here to get to a superstar, right? It could be like all of your play gets you to superstardom. It doesn't have to be, though. If your play's only here, but your fame is fucking here, now you're still a superstar, right? Because like it could be 10% fame. No,
that's not
play.
how being a superstar in the NBA works.
That's
not how it works. That's not how you go ask any analyst, any reporter, any exec, any coach, any fucking front office. What's the definition of is Jeremy Lin a superstar? And they're gonna tell you no. That's my point.
Listen,
that is my point. If Jeremy Lin was a superstar, why is he not held on the regards of Steph Curry, KD, LeBron, Kobe, Shaq, and the rest of them guys?
You're talking about being good at basketball, bro.
No, I'm talking about the criteria it takes you to be a superstar at playing basketball, not the fame that you get from it. And I think that's when we're mixing it up.
What you lack in basketball stats, you make up for in fame.
That's bullshit. Why? That's bullshit, Frank. I mean, Frank, why? That's bullshit.
Because if it takes,
it's not bullshit.
Listen,
it's not bullshit.
That's bullshit.
Listen,
hit him, G.
If it takes 100% to reach superstar, you got to hit 100%, right? You got to hit 100%, but it doesn't mean it. Like basketball doesn't have to be 100% of it. That's what I was saying before about Kawhi, right? Kawhi has no fame contributing to his superstardom. It's all basketball. It is only basketball, right? So,
and that's what a superstar in basketball is. If you get fame along with it, that's great. But playing the game of basketball, playing the game of basketball alone, playing the game of basketball and being famous outside of it, yes, they go hand in hand. I said that already. But you can't do this and get this without doing this. This is what I'm saying. You have to play good. You have to be the best of the best. You have to be. You have to be the best of the best.
You don't have to be the best of the best if you have the most.
I swear to God,
if you have the most fame, you don't have to be the best.
Tuesday, we're doing a superstar draft, and I want to see who you draft as a superstar. That's what we're going to do.
Look how many
TikTok. Why?
Look how many players get voted into All-Star games.
Doesn't mean I want them on my basketball team.
That can be true too. I don't want every superstar basketball team, but I'm not going to call somebody a superstar that's not a superstar, and I'm not going to call somebody not a superstar that is a superstar. Why is Jeremy Lin on a roster? Because he sells jerseys because he's a superstar, not because he's all it takes is you to do is sell jerseys. Hold on. Everybody be quiet. Everybody be quiet. All right. I'm having fun. I just want you guys to know. Keep it coming.
Me too,
but I'm going to pass it to Lewis real quick because he's the older head here, right? So I want to see what he has to say about it.
Come on, OG Lou.
It does not make you a superstar. Even though you get, all the fame and whatnot, it does not make you a superstar. Like I said, it has to be the criteria of what you do on the court, your accomplishments on the court. Forget about all the other stuff. That's just extra. Jeremy Lin is not a superstar. Yes, he did great when he was in New York, but he did not cultivate these superstar stats. He left way too soon, and he wanted to leave too soon, and he didn't do jack after that. So that does not make you a superstar. It has to be consistency for at least 3 to 5 years. One good season does not make you a superstar, no matter what kind of stuff you believe. It does not. It has to be consistent all the way through. I mean, because you can be hot one year and you can be a has-been the next. So that does not qualify to make you a superstar.
I got something to say about that. I feel like what Lou was just describing for me
respectfully
is I feel like what he was just describing for me is a star player, and being a star player is different than being a superstar.
Yeah.
But according to Troy, you have to be a star player in order to be a superstar, and I just disagree with that.
What do you say, Lewis?
You do have to be a star first before you become a superstar. I mean, nobody.
I don't agree.
Really? Well, okay.
So LeBron wasn't a star before he became a superstar.
No.
So
yes, he was. In high school, he was a star, and by the time he finished high school, he was a superstar.
You can't. LeBron is a very poor example.
Okay, so Kobe wasn't a star. D Wade wasn't a star.
No, coming out of high school.
No, I'm talking about period. Not
out of
high school.
Period.
In the league, at any point in their career before they got to superstar, were they a star?
Listen, so I would consider.
So that's what Lewis is saying, GK. You have to be a star before you have to grow in this game. There's levels to it. Why do you think some players is on a top tier and other players are below them? Why do you think you have your best favorite players you would take are the other ones? Because
I just think your definition of a superstar is different than mine.
No, and that's why we're having a discussion. That's why we're having a debate about it. Yes. You, Uncle Frank, feel a different way. I feel a different way. Lewis feels a different way. I want Roy to talk because Roy looked like he's been trying to say something for like 10 minutes.
Look, man, I was talking specifically on Jeremy Lin, though.
No, I was talking about superstar as a whole until GK brought up Jeremy Lin, and it just went somewhere else.
It's
Troy, I think the debate you wanted to have was what is the criteria it takes to be a star player in the NBA, and that is totally different than just being a superstar, like to the general public.
Yeah.
That's two different conversations.
Those are two totally
different
agree,
things.
I understand.
Like if you say all right, if it's a little kid and a little kid says, I want to be a star in the NBA, then I would say, well, these are the things you have to do. And these are the criteria that you have to meet. And I believe that that's the conversation that you intended to have, Troy.
But that's the question. What is a superstar in the NBA? That has nothing to do with fame. It has to do with their game on the court. And then when you said
that's being a star player. That's not being a superstar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not a superstar.
That's just being
what's
a
not a
star
superstar?
player.
If you're putting up the numbers on the court, but you're not selling no jerseys,
If you
how
play
could you be
above
considered a
the rest,
superstar?
if you play above the rest, that makes you a superstar. The best of the best that's on top that nobody can touch are superstars.
Bro, you come
That
to
just
the
makes you the
NBA.
best. That just makes you one of the best players.
This is the last
That
time I'm
don't
going to
make
say
you a
it.
superstar.
What comes out of your gameplay is what comes off the field. Your superstar, your jersey sales, your merch buys, your fan things, you signing autographs. That comes from you playing on the field. You cannot sit here and tell me.
Kevin
and
Love,
I'm not
Kevin
talking
Love
no more.
was
You guys
in
can have the
Minnesota
floor.
putting up superstar numbers.
You cannot
And he was
tell
never
me,
once considered a
you cannot tell
superstar
me that
because
a
he
guy
wasn't
that's
selling
number 12
nothing.
on the bench can be a superstar. Why is he number 12 on the bench? We have a roster and we have players that's in different tiers for a reason.
I just gave you the best player on a team
Some
who's
players
putting
are
up
all
superstar
stars.
numbers who's not considered a
Who?
superstar.
Who?
Kevin Love, when he was in Minnesota.
Kevin Love
averaging
was considered a superstar when he was in Minnesota.
He was not considered a superstar.
Okay, so why was I hearing people call him a superstar then?
He was a star. He was a star
Star
player.
player.
He was
Star
Okay, and
player.
I can agree with that too. Maybe
Team.
okay, so
He didn't even. He couldn't even make the All-Star team.
Being a superstar, I can agree with that in my personal opinion. But I used to watch every fucking sports show there was, and everybody was calling Kevin Love when he was on Timberwolves a superstar.
They called him a star. How could he be a superstar? He never even made the. He was in the All-Star.
Yes, and I understand that. And some people held that against him, Frank. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Now, if he could sell jerseys, he would have been considered a superstar.
But what I'm saying is there are people that can sell jerseys that are not superstars.
He's bringing in the revenue. Then that could be that's what you
bringing in revenue and being a superstar in a game of basketball is two different things, and that's why I said bringing in a revenue comes after
basketball. That's not being a superstar.
Yes, being a superstar comes from playing the game of basketball.
No, it
not what comes outside
just
of basketball.
Just because you're the best on your team don't mean you're a superstar.
And I made that point earlier. I agree with that. What I'm saying is you don't have to be the best of the team. You have to be the best of the best in the conference. I said that earlier. You have to be above the rest for 5 years. For 5, yes, you. Oh my! So you tell me who's above the rest for 5 years straight? That's not a superstar.
Troy, I could say this. I could say you could be an NBA MVP for 7 years
Nikola Jokic.
People, do you not watch TNA? Do you not watch any sports show? People are already calling Jokic a damn superstar. They're already calling Giannis a superstar. And Jokic,
he's the best.
Jokic only has an MVP.
He's the best big. I've heard people say he's the best big man in the league.
Yes, I can say that too. I would agree with that too.
He's the best big man in the league. But when we talk superstars, there's a real small list of superstars.
Yes, it's about
guys that
transition
transition outside the game.
You guys.
But it doesn't have
outside the game right now. Basketball. Bro, you can name plenty of Hall of Famers that are not superstars.
And I'm not disputing that, GK. I'm talking about the superstars. I'm not talking about nothing else. Nothing else, GK.
Listen,
just the superstars. The criteria it takes to be a superstar in the sport, not outside the sport.
Okay,
in the sport, you have to do something in the sport to be a superstar. Like Uncle Frank just said, Kevin Love had the numbers, right?
Right, exactly.
It goes hand in hand, and this is what I'm saying. Kevin Love had the numbers, right? But you guys saying he didn't have the outside, right? But people inside of the NBA were saying Kevin Love was a superstar or star.
If you're not relevant off the court, you're not a superstar.
Right now in the league, if you turn on any sports center or any channel, any sports channel, right? Anyone, I guarantee you everything I have in my bank account that they'll call Jokic a superstar. Because I've been watching it for the last month. Since the season started of these guys calling him a superstar, all he's won is one MVP. He's having the same year. Go look at Jokic's numbers. He's having the same year. That guy might just be a superstar, but he has to show me for a couple of more years that he can keep it consistent. He's going to sell jerseys. That does not make him a superstar. I can listen before I let you go. I respect everybody's opinion. I love that we disagree. I love that I'm getting the head shaking, GK eye rolling. I love that. But you guys are nuts. You guys are nuts to think that Jeremy Lin is a superstar. All right. Could have been, maybe if he played longer. I'm talking about, and that's why I'm saying, GK, you are right. We're having two different conversations. And that's why I tried to dial it back in and give you guys the floor.
Let me hear my
to
guy.
Fix it,
my guy.
To fix it, right? What is the criteria inside? Then I switched it. What's the criteria inside the NBA? Not the fame, not the jersey sales. What's the criteria inside the NBA? Because not every NBA player can be a superstar, and that is a fact. Like Uncle Frank just said, there are limited of people that are superstars in the NBA. There are 7 of them, probably 7 of them that we can name right now. And then a couple of them are debatable because Giannis and Jokic will be in that 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You have to do something in the game of basketball to get to the outside. I agree with you guys on the outside. I think you guys think I'm disagreeing with you guys. I agree with you with the outside. You have to have the jersey sale. You have to have the merch. You have to be able to, for fans to go crazy. But every time an NBA team plane land, there are fans outside waiting for that plane. No matter what time it lands. It can land at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, 3. There are fans outside cheering them on, no matter what their NBA record is. So everybody's name is known. Everybody in the NBA name is known. This is not football. It's not like their faces are covered. You know everybody in the NBA. Yes, other people have more stardom. That means outside of the league. That's why I associate stardom with famous. They're more NBA players are more famous, yes, than other ones. Yes, LeBron, KD, Steph Curry might be a little bit more famous than a James Harden, Kyrie.
The superstars.
But that's what I'm saying. Even superstars on that level are more, it's still a level to it. It's still a level to it. And that's all I'm trying to say. There's a criteria for you to be the top of the top.
You're agreeing with us because that extra level is what they do.
No, that's what I'm saying. I agreed from the get, though, Uncle Frank. I agree with the outside stuff from the get. What I said was, I want you guys to talk about the criteria inside. Inside. I want the criteria of inside.
But that's what I'm saying. When you're talking superstars, you can't just limit it to
I'm not limited. You guys touched
that they
on
do
one
on
end
the
of it.
court.
But you guys limited it in your responses.
That's not all it takes.
But Uncle Frank, you guys limited it in your sponsors because all you and GK said was you got to be famous outside the league. You got to sell jerseys. You guys said nothing about numbers. You said nothing about
you got to
doing it inside the league.
That's on top of the numbers.
Is
that's
Ja
on top
Morant
of the production.
Ja Morant a superstar?
I mean, he can be. I mean, it's still early.
Great answer, Uncle Frank. GK, Ja Morant superstar?
He hasn't been around long enough.
Oh, no, he hasn't. What about De'Aaron Fox? He's superstar?
No.
What about D'Angelo Russell? Superstar?
No.
Oh, D'Angelo, definitely no. But the other two, you gotta wait like 5 years.
Why isn't D'Angelo a superstar? He's done it for 5 years.
Done what?
Go back to the Knicks.
Him snitching on Nick Young.
Listen, now we're going personal.
Shot everything down.
Now you're trolling again.
No, but seriously, I mean, look at people. That's people.
It did change the outlook on him. It did.
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
that might hinder him from becoming a superstar because people are gonna be like, eh. And I think
exactly.
what might hinder
great players aren't really going to play with him.
What might mess Russell up is what you and GK is alluding to: the stardom outside of the league. He will never be that big because fans ain't going to get on the side because they know what the fuck he did. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of great players in this league, like GK said, that are not superstars that are in the Hall of Fame. That's correct. But when we think of Robert Horry, right, one of the greatest role players ever behind Scottie Pippen, had 7 rings. Are we putting him against anybody that was a superstar? No, because he wasn't that.
And he didn't have no star power either. He didn't have anything off the court. He didn't have nothing to go with.
Robert Horry had a little bit. He had a little bit. Hitting them shots gave him a little bit of star power. People was running out buying that Robert Horry jersey.
People was running out buying Robert Horry jersey. Gave him probably the stature. But if he hit them just on a different team, nobody really cares that much. If it's all of those points come on the Spurs.
Yeah, so real quick, I just want to say I want Roy to go because he hasn't said anything in a while.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
Yeah, Roy, I apologize.
I was letting y'all go in, man.
Sorry,
I was listening.
bro.
I was taking
I haven't
information.
seen GK in a minute, so I was going to do this anyway. It was going to be the Browns, but we got to it earlier, GK. We was going at it.
Listen,
I missed your ass.
I'm going to pass this to Roy, but this is what I want to say to sort of wrap up my whole view on all this. So I'll go over my criteria.
I love that I put this topic in the doc.
So for me, just the word superstar, it takes a combination of both off the court and on the court, right? And whether you have more of one or the other, to me, it doesn't matter because if you get to the end, whether it's 90% off the court or 90% on the court, whatever the combination is, if you can get to that 100% to be superstar, all right, it is what it is. And by that, I mean, like, if you went on Good Morning America, or if you showed up to like the US Open and the public just sees you, maybe non-basketball fan, like, do they know who you are? For me, that's a superstar, whether it was because of your play or because of your fame or whatever. Like, to me, that's a superstar.
Have you heard of the, before you go, Roy, GK, have you ever heard of the basketball player Headache?
Say again?
Have you ever heard of the basketball player? His nickname was Headache.
No.
He played college. He got caught. He was a monster. When I say a monster, beast. Had stardom already in college. You think they were calling him a superstar? No. But I can tell you what happened to his career. He got caught up betting on games and then ruined his whole career. When he could have been in the NBA league, right? And been a superstar because he had stardom already coming into the league. And I think that's the difference. You can have stardom, you can have fame. But when we're talking about the criteria of being a superstar, yes, stardom and fame goes with it. But you're talking about one more than the other.
So in his case,
hold on, GK. You can't be here in the NBA and then be here and think you're a superstar because there are players like that. You don't think Miles Bridges jersey sales have went up since this season?
But still not high enough to be a superstar, though. So that's my thing. So for the example you gave, Headache or whatever. So maybe he got to 70% stardom and he would have only needed 30% basketball to make him a
his
superstar.
basketball was above his stardom though because he was a monster, and that's why I said
so then maybe he had 70% basketball and he had 20% stardom, but he didn't have enough to become a superstar. Whatever the case may be, right? But let me just move on to my next thing. Is for me to be considered a star player in the NBA and to have star power, aka be able to put the team on your back and carry to a win or whatever, or to a stretch of wins or whatever, right? So for me, that's just like, if there's a team that has a winning season, like let's say 60 games or whatever, and a majority of those games, if that player was out, they wouldn't have had that type of record. To me, that's being like an elite player or a star player. Like if you could carry your team, or if you're the reason why your team has most of the wins they do, then that's the type of criteria I would consider to be a star player. And
thank you, GK.
Yes. Okay. So that's fair, right? Right. So yeah. So outside of the word superstar, that's what it is for me, right? Like if you're good enough and you're talented enough to be the main reason why you get the team into the playoffs, then that's what it is for me. And then now I want Roy to talk.
All right.
One more question before you go, Roy. Sorry. GK, how many superstars are there in the league right now? GK, how many superstars are there in the league right now?
I don't know. I would have to go through them.
All right. But just so you guys know, before Roy go, next Tuesday when we get on, I'm gonna have it set up, and we're doing a superstar, non-superstar draft. All right. That's what we're doing next week because I want to know now who's a superstar, who's not a superstar. Go ahead, Roy.
So I'll make a list of people that I consider a superstar, and then people that I consider a star player in the league, and some of them are going to be on both, and some of them are only going to be on one.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay,
fair enough. All right, am I good? Am I good to talk? All right, we're good.
Like, real quick, Troy, like
So
Jokic, like we were saying, Jokic, I don't consider him a superstar, but he's definitely a star player.
Yes, but he's on the verge.
Nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows who he is, but he's a league MVP.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
People know.
All right. I will break my silence.
Hit me, Roy.
I will break my silence. Look, I've been listening to y'all talk, man, and I get what both of you guys are saying, but superstar definition, widely known and successful. You know, you got to have both. I think you guys got to meet in the middle ground somewhere, man. Y'all got to meet somewhere. I get it. Good.
GK just told me what I wanted to hear.
I'm glad. You guys got a free therapy session out of that. I'm glad. But look, I think you just have to. Troy made a good point. Like, we kind of overuse the word superstar. It's kind of like when we go around, people say, "Oh, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT." I mean, like we use the term GOAT, like greatest of all time. There can't only be but one. We over here calling other people GOATs. I think superstar is just kind of taken too lightly, because we use it so much. But I think you guys, I'm glad you guys met in the end. There was a good resolution for this.
Nah, this is why I got this cast, bro, because I know we can have conversations like this.
Yeah.
And just get right back into it. But staying on the same note, I'm gonna kick it off with GK. Can Zion still be a star in the league? You're thinking too hard, my brother.
I want him to be. I think
last year he played 61 games and he averaged 27 points. I just want you to know. 27 and 7.
Yeah. No, I think
61% shooting.
I think it's a matter of mental toughness. And I guess just if his body is just gonna allow it.
Do you think he has a weight problem?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do
you
think
that contributes to him being young?
So here's the thing is if it's his fault, then that's the issue.
Who fault can it be though?
But it might not necessarily be his fault because some people got weight issues and it's not really, it's just something wrong with them, right? But
okay, I get what you're saying.
But outside of that, like if it is his fault or whatever, and he's just being lazy, then that's on him. And if he had the Mamba mentality in terms of working out, staying in shape, practicing, exercising, that, like if he had that, then yeah, his talent and his physical gifts they're there for him to be a big star, superstar, elite player, all those words. He could be all of it. But it's just a matter of his weight. And if it's the matter of the weight, is the weight tied to just him working hard or being lazy? And if that's the case, then that's what would be holding him back from being a superstar or not. So to sum that up, basically, like if he is strong enough mentally to get his weight in check and his body allows it, and that allows him to stay healthy through a full season and several seasons, then yes, then he's going to be all of that.
All right, so he's out 4 to 6 weeks with a foot injection.
Right. So if he keeps on staying out on injury, this, that, then no. If he keeps staying fat, then no.
Yeah, he got to stay healthy, man. And like you said, the weight. I mean, if I could think of all the places in the United States where I want to be if I had a weight problem, New Orleans would probably be the last place I'd pick. All I'm saying, that man, that's Southern soul food. Oh man, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Amazing. But man, if you're trying to watch your weight, you're in a bad spot, man. That gumbo hit different. But look,
that gumbo hit different.
But the numbers for him, man, you can't, like, I mean, you stated the numbers already. I mean, 27 a game last year. I mean, that's like, those are star numbers. Yeah, I mean, those are star numbers. I mean, let's be honest with each other. But
that's borderline. That's like borderline.
Yeah. No, I think that's like exactly. That's it. And he's young, so he only has to go up. But the caveat to that is, can he stay healthy? Because we've seen these problems with him in the past. We saw it with him at Duke for a little bit. So I mean, can he stay healthy? I think that's the big kicker in his situation.
Wasn't Shaq that big?
No.
Shaq wasn't that big?
Not really.
Shaq was athletic coming in. He was a big
Shaq,
athletic.
I'm not talking about coming in. When Shaq on the Lakers, when he got lazy, wasn't he that big?
He was a little bit husky, but he wasn't like the way Zion's looking.
Yeah.
No, because all right. So let's take into context of Zion. When if you're talking about the picture with the hoodie on, you got to go then look at the picture with him in the tank top, because him in the tank top looks fit. Him in that hoodie look fat as hell. So pictures could tell 10,000 different words. That's what
honestly,
I'm saying.
It doesn't matter if he's still available. The best ability to have is availability. Right?
What do you think?
So that could end up being his Achilles heel. But honestly, I mean, because look at James Harden. He's looking a little husky, but he's still out there. So
that's muscle.
I mean, he could be like that as long as he's on the court. But it's a matter of, does it prevent him from being on the court or not?
Yeah. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah, Zion, he does have a bit of a weight problem, and his injuries, have been acting up too. So he has been kind of a problem. But if he learned, it probably isn't all of his fault. But if he doesn't take care of himself, then he's got an even bigger problem. I mean, this whole thing started, first the shoe explodes, and then other things. I mean, let's face it, he is very injury prone, and if he keeps that up, he's not gonna be able to last much longer in this league. He's got to learn to play better, take care of himself better, to avoid all this crap he's been going through. I mean, I got nothing against him, as a player, but he's got to get better than what he's doing now. I'm kind of disappointed in him.
Troy, I got one for you.
What's up?
So to me, Zion has the potential. He's got star power, but he's not a superstar. His play nor his fame has elevated.
No,
neither one.
I could agree with you there, but I think if Zion was out there playing, his stardom would rise because of his play.
Yes, agree 100%.
And I think that's what every player. The better you play, the more you show you're the best in this sport, the more your stardom is going to grow. You're not going to sit here and say Luka's stardom is more than LeBron's stardom.
Something's going to have to elevate it.
Even overseas, Luka's stardom isn't more than LeBron's.
Well, no one's is though.
MJ's stardom is better, yeah.
No,
better.
no way.
Way better.
What?
Way better.
Oh,
Yo,
Well,
wait
no,
till we-
because
wait till
well,
we do
because
this.
just to
I
go
got
in
a
US.
who you got. I
the
got a who
social
you got
media
for Tuesday. You gonna
changes
love it.
is everything.
Yeah, it does. It does. If that's what I'm saying. Do you guys think if Michael Jordan played in the era of social media, he wouldn't be the most iconic player next to Muhammad Ali and them guys? Because you could say
Be the most
LeBron is
scrutinized
probably.
player.
You could say
Yeah, no,
LeBron is probably up there
exactly.
with Muhammad Ali and them
in the dark
guys.
would have came to the light. So eventually,
Oh,
I don't
but
think
they did
people
come to
would
the
look
light.
at him like
No, it did come to the light.
it came to the light now. But I'm talking about during
back
his
then
career,
it came to the light. His gambling
I would say
problems.
I would
No, but it
his
wasn't
drinking
exposed.
problems.
It wasn't exposed like it wasn't in the days of
No,
social
because
media.
people
It's
loved
like,
MJ, so
social
it wasn't that wasn't gonna happen. People loved MJ too much to be like, we're just gonna throw his name through the dirt.
No, yeah, I agree with Troy. If MJ had social media, he would be more famous for
He
sure.
would be up there with Muhammad Ali stardom, like outside stardom, because Muhammad Ali is like the pinnacle of outside sports stardom. You understand? What do you say, Louis?
well,
As far as boxing is concerned, yes, and it was right up there. You know, pretty much in all sports. Just one thing though, don't talk about Frazier. Don't want to talk about Frazier.
Yeah.
I had to throw it in. I had to throw it in.
He said, had to throw it in.
Yes,
so as far as the Zion, I think he's already. I mean, we can all agree that he's already a star, and
I'd say
he
all-star.
clearly has
All-star.
star and
Yeah, I'd say
all-star, star, superstar. He has the potential, and obviously he has to get that weight problem under control, and he has to stay healthy to be effective on the court. But I'm gonna take my Zion take a little bit further, and it's funny that GK brought up James Harden and his weight problem.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, upon seeing that 300-pound picture, I'm just going to tell you, the first thought that ran through my head was Zion is trying to eat his way out of New Orleans. That was my initial. That's my initial. And for some reason, I dance around the weight problem and all of the Zion issues. But I honestly start to believe in heart that Zion wants Zion management, his people, and his team is trying to get him to eat his way out of New Orleans eventually, and then get himself into a bigger market where he can really expand his name. Because if Zion comes back, and if Zion was in the New York market, he would already be on superstar status. I think him being in New Orleans actually hurts his name, and he's gonna see. And he's going to learn from what AD went through his tenure in New Orleans, and also what Chris Paul went through in his tenure in New Orleans. I think all of those great players, all of those good players wind up leaving. And I think Zion and his team and his management, I think they know that in the back of their minds. So the best way, the easiest, the safest way to get them out is for Zion to eat his way up out of there, I believe.
That's an interesting point. I mean, because there's easier ways to get yourself out of a city, hence James
I agree,
Harden.
Troy.
Hence James Harden. Why? Because if you got to make yourself fat, you then got to lose the weight for the other team.
Uncle Frank, yeah, exactly. Uncle Frank, a lot of it I think has to do with he has a foot injury, so he can't run and do cardio. Like his foot is broke or whatever. So that could be why
he was gaining the weight. I mean, even after he came back, those first couple of games, the weight problem was still an issue. It was still an issue, even though he was he was going out there and putting up those numbers, and that was a part of the reason why he couldn't stay on the court a lot of the times, that he wasn't playing deep into the fourth quarters. And a lot of it was them trying to protect him and them trying to cater his injury, but it also was his conditioning and his weight problem. That's always been an issue, and I think that if he eats his way up if he continues to have that weight problem,
eat his way out of
New Orleans, like he's Margin Boo.
Because that's
like
what.
I keep
imagine his manager.
Boo.
All right, Zion. Well,
just keep on eating. That's what
here.
James Harden did. That's how he got his way. That's how he got them to really force his way up out of Houston. But why did he play? Why did they look at him playing bad? Is because he had put on all of that weight, and he wasn't looking like the stuff. He had a crazy gut. And that's when they realized he was trying to tarnish the team. They got him up out of there.
What if it was?
Yeah, they got the same agent. He's like, hey, I know how to handle this. It worked for me in Houston. All you got to do is just keep eating.
And Zion's young. I believe eventually he'll be able to get that weight under control. He'll be able to beef up and stock up. But as of now, if you want to
but
get
he
out
has
of
to
that
be careful
situation in New
because
Orleans,
he has to be careful because we done seen this story a few times. Greg Oden, Sam Bowie, like people that come in that's really good, that's injury prone, that can't get past their injuries. They have average careers. To say if Zion was in New York, Uncle Frank, he would have stardom.
superstardom.
He would be outside of the game of basketball, really like famous in New York. But in the game of basketball, he's only played 2 years. He's not a superstar.
If
There's
Zion
no way in
got
hell
drafted
people-
into that New York
But the potential,
market,
though, potential.
Yes, the potential.
Potential
And
is there.
that's what I was going
They
to.
would set him
The
up.
They
in
would
every
say he
way
would have
possible
potential
do
to
it.
be a superstar, but ain't no analyst, game caller is calling him a superstar off the bat.
Nope.
Oh no, you can't. You earn it.
Right.
That's my point. Even
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
you have to earn it. He would have it outside.
got to show something on the court.
He would definitely have it outside. Definitely. As soon as he walked into New York fans would love Zion. He would be one of the famous people in New York.
Absolutely.
But he would not have
That whole
equal
market
to what he's accomplishing in the game, especially if he goes to New York and he's still injury prone. That changes the scenario. All right. Roy, I don't think you went, and I don't think Lewis went.
I started with the saying about Zion, but I'll have some more to say because I mean, Uncle Frank brought up a good point, man. I mean, what if this is just AD part 2? You know, I'm just trying to get out of New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, like I don't blame them. I don't blame them. That like exactly. That's a poverty franchise. I mean, let's be honest with each other. They got nothing going for them. Front office doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Let's just be honest with each other.
Exactly.
I mean, if he can go to a bigger market, you know, I mean, be with a better team. I mean, because that's not saying much, but you know, be with a better team, get in a bigger market, sell his brand, sell his name, and you know, also and get better. I mean, also you said cut the weight, yeah. Might be easier said than done. I mean, we all think of when I think of like watching weight, I think of like Eddie Lacy. I don't know why that's the first person that comes to my mind.
Cheeseburger Eddie.
Yeah. But I mean, I hope he can just get it under control, man. Because like you said, sometimes weight is out of people's control. You know, some people are just hereditarily like that. So I mean, hopefully it's not that issue, but I think he has the potential to be a superstar if he goes to a big market.
Lewis.
Their market, because New Orleans is, you know, not really known for basketball, and the Pelicans are, well, they don't even have a pot to pee in at all. I mean, they're okay. Well, you get the idea, possibly. But I don't know if, you know, if they was gonna want such, you know, him with all his injuries and whatnot, because that'd be just like, you know, just sending into a team that's gonna make it feel worse. I mean, you don't want to send a player who's injury prone and have him on your team, because that's only gonna make it look worse. So I wouldn't want, because we had that as players in the Knicks, and you know, like Porzingis, he was constantly injured in the Knicks and wasn't doing anything for us. So I don't think I want, you know, Zion to be another Porzingis or anything like that. So
I hear you.
Because that is what I call bad karma, and it's the last thing that, you know, a big market team needs, like Chicago, LA. Well, the Clippers are a different story altogether. That's another April altogether. Because the Clippers are, you know, like I'll be like choke artist. And, you know what I mean by that, right? Of course. Yeah, capital CHOKE, choke. So keep your back karma away from us, because you know the Knicks want to try and get better. They want to try and make a playoff. The Lakers are trying to rebound. They are rebounding now a little bit. So I don't think I want Zion on the team. I mean, they did the right thing when they traded him. He was the number 1 pick back in 2019. He got traded down, and I think it was the right decision, because if he would have been our team, it would have been Porzingis part 2, and we would be in a shitload of trouble. I mean, a real shitload of trouble.
Yeah, I think you guys would have still had them same injury problems with him, and I think that's the only thing that you have to look at, because if you're looking at his 2-year career, you could only go off of how it went, and then you got to apply that to any other team you put him on. So he's still going to be out, still going to be injured. He's still going to only play 24 games his first season, so his rookie year. So I mean, Zion should have been rookie of the year. I don't know if he won it. I think LaMelo won it, right? LaMelo won it. Zion, he has the skill, and that's what we talk about, that potential, the skill and talent to actually make it to be, you know, a superstar star in this league. But I just think his injuries is gonna hold him back.
The only thing.
Yeah, I think he got
outside of injuries. I think we can all agree that we would want Zion If
If
we
he was
knew that he
healthy.
was never gonna, if we knew that he was never gonna get hurt, then we would want.
Because if you're
Agreed.
thinking about a foot injury too, man, because I played ball all my life, except now because of my back and stuff. But like when you think about a foot injury, I twisted. I jumped out a window. Little disclosure about me: when I was 5, I think 6, I jumped out a second story window and I nearly broke the bone to my foot. But I never had any work done on it. And every time I would play ball, bro, I twist the same ankle over and over and over and over and over. And I had to learn how to play with a fucking twisted ankle, bro. So when you have those foot injuries, those things can linger forever. Like even till today, I could be walking and my leg would just go, my foot would just go like this because that bone, like it isn't that stable. You understand what I'm saying? So if Zion keeps going on with these foot injuries, he's gonna end up in the same boat as Greg Oden and Sam Bowie and the rest of those guys who aren't bust. I wouldn't call them bust because they got injured. You understand? They just dealt with injury. Yeah.
And foot injuries are, they're tricky. They really are. I mean, anywhere where you have something where it's constantly moving and constantly involved, you can't really immobilize that. I mean, yeah, you can, wear a boot, do whatever, but once you get back to playing, that's one of the easiest things to re-aggravate is just your foot, like your shoulder, just stuff that's constantly moving like that. So, he has to protect it and he has to go through the correct medical treatments, the surgeries. And I know that sucks because, oh, this surgery is going to take me out for the rest of the year. But, your health comes first, man. You got to get that right. So then you can play right.
So yeah, let's move on to GK. GK, we got to start off with you on this one, man. But I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to let you answer. And then I'll go on my little spiel. So GK, man, where do the Cleveland Browns, finish this season?
So honestly, I thought up until maybe today or yesterday, I thought that the division was theirs because they play the Raiders, the Packers, the Steelers, and the Bengals. So to me, they were going to probably win 3 out of 4. And have basically the easiest road to first place in the division because the Ravens, here, I'm just pulling up their schedule real quick.
You keep going, GK, but I'm gonna tear you apart, man.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
Like, I'm waiting.
You keep going, man. I'm gonna tear you apart.
I'm waiting.
So the Ravens got to
7-6.
play. The Ravens still got to play the Packers, Bengals, Rams, and Steelers. So to me, I consider that a harder schedule, right? I honestly counted out the Steelers. And then the Bengals, I just still didn't believe in because they're not that great in the trenches. And their schedule is harder than the Browns as well. So that's why at this, like 3 days ago, I was liking the Browns to close out the division there. But now that Stefanski has COVID, Baker has COVID, Keenum has COVID, 40% of their offensive line is out or has COVID. I don't know that they're going to be – they might go 0-4 at this point. So,
Good.
So, yeah.
How many teams make it to the playoffs from each conference?
So there's 4 division winners and 3 wild cards now. This is going to be the first year where there's 3 wild cards instead of.
So you guys will be out of the wild card right now.
You
got the Bills in front of you.
Right.
Kansas City, Patriots, Tennessee, Ravens, Chargers, Colts, Bills, Browns.
Right. So I like because the Ravens are in trouble too because Lamar's hurt. I think his injury is probably a little more serious than people are leading on to believe. And even if he's able to get on the field with that type of injury, like he's not going to be able to use his best ability, which is to run. So, so the Ravens are in trouble, man. In my opinion, I mean, they do have that 1-game lead, which is crucial for them to like try to skate by and maybe go 500 and get their way in. But yeah.
And didn't they lose a starting cornerback too for the season for the year?
Oh yeah. Well, Peters had already been out, but then Humphrey.
Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, he's they lost him too, so that's huge. But up until all this COVID stuff, I thought that the Browns would get in by winning the division. So It's going to be tough for that division to, well, any division really in the NFC, the wild cards, because the NFC is pretty competitive. So,
Lewis, what's your thoughts on the Browns?
Browns, I'll put it like this, kind of shaky. Yeah, they can win the division, but they've had a kind of rough, in recent weeks. So, they got, if they can get past the Ravens, I think they have it. But they're looking a little bit shaky from the beginning point of the season. I thought maybe they're going to rebuild from last season when they were the surprise team in the league. They have, I think, fell back a bit. So they really have to, if they can win 3 of these last 4 games, I think they can have it. But if they don't, they're going to find themselves, out.
I think that Cincinnati game going to be tough for the Browns.
I see. That's what I was going to say. When you
last year was Cleveland's surprise. That's what I'm saying. They were the surprise of last year, and hopefully they were going to build on that.
Yeah, last year when they were 11-5.
Yeah, yeah. But then you say win the last 3 out of their 4. I gotta disagree on that one, man.
I said if. I didn't say they were going to. I said if.
No, I was talking about what GK said. Yeah, so they
lose to the Raiders.
They could definitely lose to the Raiders. The thing is, I look at these 4 teams: the Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals. They could lose to every single one of these teams, even without COVID. Let's just say COVID wasn't even a factor. I still think they lose maybe 3 of these games, and then maybe they go
2-2.
I can see them going 2-2 as well. I don't think they win all 3 because first of all, they're not beating the Packers. I'll just be straight up and just tell you that right now.
I was counting that as a loss.
Yeah, I know that.
And I think they'll beat the Raiders. But hey, this Raiders team, you never know.
I think
the Steelers and Bengals games, those 2 games are going to be, because it's the AF. I say it time and time again, the AFC North. It's a dogfight. It's a dogfight. It always is. It always will be. Whenever they play each other,
to win the division still too.
Every game, every team is 1 game out of first or a game and a half, and Pittsburgh's the game and a half. So these last couple weeks here, man, I mean, and a lot of them play each other. So it's like it doesn't get more exciting than this coming down to find out who's in playoffs and who's not. And that's not even considering wild card spots, because who knows how the rest of the league is going to shape with them. I think, and whenever an AFC North team plays another AFC North team, doesn't matter how good the team is, it's always a dogfight. They always play with, because it means so much more when you play your division rivals. That's not exclusive to the AFC North. That's every division. When you're playing your division rivals, it's another extra layer to the game. Because you see these guys twice a year. Oh, they might have beat us earlier in the year. Well, no, we're going to come out here and we're going to show them something this week and show them this is our division. So, I think
that point that you're making is even stronger for that division, particularly, though. I feel like that specific division, the rivalry and those matchups are even more so, like what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like highlighted by it because, I mean, every team in that team's division is each other's biggest rivals. So it just adds even more to it. I mean, I think the COVID situation, though, does very much hurt them. It hurts them so much. I mean, you said a lot of 40% of the offensive line is up. That's the best offensive line in football.
Right. That's the whole strength of their team. So it kind of changes.
Exactly.
But I feel like the conversation will be a little bit better if, like, let's just hypothetically say all of those teams in all 4 games for everybody in that division and everybody that they're playing, if everyone has their starters and no one has COVID and everyone has their coaches and everything, then I like the Browns to win 3 out of 4. Obviously, that's not the case, and so there's factors. But hypothetically, if they have everybody, and their opponents even too, have everybody's good in an ideal world. If everybody's good, just because at this time of year where it's cold out, defense and run game is the most important, and beating the other team in the trenches for the majority of the snaps, like whoever wins the majority of snaps in the trenches, I feel like almost 9 times out of 10 is going to win the game. So in that regard, I give the edge to the Browns because their offensive line against almost any D-line, their offensive line's probably got the edge.
Agreed.
And even their D-line, like you have Clowney on one side and Garrett on the other side. Like those are 2 really hard guys to block. But with the way they are currently, I believe both left tackle and right tackle are out. And then
Jack Conklin, he's gone.
Their number one and number 2 quarterbacks are out, and then Kareem Hunt is also out. So that changes the whole conversation.
It does. It changes the whole dynamic of it, the whole narrative of it. I mean, because this is everyone knows what the Cleveland Browns are. This is a power running team. Their job is to run the ball, and they do it
haven't been
very
doing
well.
that too well lately, though.
Yeah, exactly. But that is the name of their game plan. That's what Kevin Stefanski likes to do. That's why they brought in 2 dominant running backs. And let's not sleep on Duke Johnson either, because that man can run the ball as well. So, I mean, this Cleveland Browns team, I mean, I'm not going out here and saying they go 0-4, but they very possibly could, considering the COVID situation. Right. So I think, it depends how
when they get most of their
back.
players back before the last 2 games?
Yes, but that's also not saying who pops positive the next week. Who, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's up in the air.
Like the symptoms too, though, like, because I had COVID, and for a month I was not good.
Yeah, and exactly, like the residue off of that. Who feels good after they
that's
have
what
it.
I was saying a little earlier before we started the show, that them guys are athletes. Their bodies are way different from ours, so they'll be able to handle it a little bit different. I mean,
in an ideal situation,
I use
correct.
LeBron as an example. He literally tested positive, and then they said it was a false positive when he tested not positive, but he literally was over in 2 days. There's people out here, but it affects everybody differently. So I would like to see how they come back and who comes back.
Right.
But I think in by the last 2 games, we should have, hopefully, everybody that's on the COVID list should be off.
Right. I mean, in a good world, good situation. I hope that is the case. Obviously, I wish, because I'm a big fan of competition. Yes, I like my team, but it doesn't feel as good when you beat a team that doesn't even have half their players. Yeah. It doesn't feel right, because then the narrative is like, it got handed to you. If so and so was playing, you would have lost.
You're advantaged.
Frank, you got something? Yeah. You got something, Frank?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, now we can't hear you.
Sorry, yo, I'm having trouble with my phone.
No, I agree. I want both teams at full strength, and then see what.
Yeah, I think, I mean, just for the game of football itself, I think that's good for the game. It's good for viewers, good for all that stuff. But I think what it comes down to, man, this division's a dogfight, and what determines Cleveland makes it or not, is can they get that power run game back to where they had it before? That really determines whether or not they're successful. And can this defense, keep up being a powerhouse? I think the one place where Cleveland falls short is Baker Mayfield. Because when they need to throw, I say this it seems like almost every show I'm on, I say this, but it's so true for these guys that these certain teams, they cannot throw. They can throw proactively, they cannot throw reactively. They can't do it. I just don't think, if the game's on the line, I really wouldn't want Baker Mayfield to be my quarterback. No. Don't get me wrong. He's great at doing this. He's great at doing the handoff. He's good. He's great at that, man. But it might just be a game manager thing.
62.8% this year. I think GK would like that stat. He's completing 62.8% of his throws. But the thing that stands out to me is since week 6, the Browns rank 24th in efficiency, 25th in EPA, 19th in yards per game, 24th in third downs, 26th in first downs per game. And they have the second to fourth best defense in the league. Yeah,
this offense is struggling. I mean, they have been for these. I mean, since week 16. I mean, they've been. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this Browns team, because I think this team is supposed to be good offensively. Yes, don't get me wrong. They're defensively stout. We know this. Mm-hmm. That's no surprise to no one. But we expected this offense to be good as well. And it just seems like they're not holding up their end of the bargain. And it seems like in a lot of games where this defense is winning games for them. And don't get me wrong, your defense should try to win you games. But if you're the only party, doing something, there's a problem with that.
All right. So peep game. All right. So what I would say, number one, is credit to the good old AFC North. I mean, at this time of year, everybody, don't you just love the AFC North? I mean, as good as the NFC East, or as as much acclaim as the NFC East has gotten as being one of the most toughest divisions or one of the most storied divisions in the NFL. At this time of year, we always seem to be waiting on those AFC North games, and those games are typically the most interesting game, the toughest played games at this point in the season, especially when it comes down to defense and just running the balls, because a lot of the times that's what those franchises are known for. But my thing came, you guys know, initially I got the Bengals winning this division. At this point in the year, with all of the injuries and all of the COVID hits to all of these different teams, my big thing is trust. That's what my biggest issue. It comes down to trust for me. Who do I trust the most? All right. So if I go to defenses, who defense do I trust the most? As good as all of these defenses are in the league, and do you really trust the Ravens defense, especially with them down their top corners, especially going into the playoffs against these high power offensive teams and the AFC, potentially matching up against a Kansas City team or a Chargers team or one of these the Buffalo Bills teams whenever those guys are on, or even the Titans at certain times. I don't really trust the Ravens. I look at the Bengals, and every week we pick the Bengals. They seem to just shit the bed as far as losing games that they're definitely supposed to win, or games that they're projected to win. Like last week, I definitely thought that they should have won that game last week, but they should have beat the Chargers really. But the turnovers became a big issue in that game. And Joe Burrow, he seems to take steps, but everybody else around him doesn't seem to be progressing as fast as Joe Burrow. So when it comes, and do I think they have the experience as far as getting into the playoffs and being a legit team this late in the season? I don't really trust them. I don't really trust them. I'm not completely backing off the Bengals, but I don't completely trust them. Then I go to the Steelers. The Steelers offensively is just a mess. Sorry, my boy Roy. I'm sorry to tell you.
I agree with you.
Just, I mean, they just been a mess, just mentally. Not even just not being able to run the ball effectively. Big Ben, we obviously know he can't really pass the ball down the field no more. He can't get the ball. He can't stretch the field anymore. It's just the little things are the things that seem to be killing the Raiders. I mean, the Steelers week in and week out. And you can't always rely on that defense. TJ Watt has been playing phenomenal. He's my defensive player of the year. But I think he's only going to be able to do so much. As you see, he can only do so much and to affect the game at that level. Like the offense has to be able to be on the same page and to be able to keep up with their defense if they're gonna make some noise. And I don't trust that they'll do that. As much as as you look at the Browns, I clearly trust their defense. Their defense is clearly, as a whole, the best defense in that division, in my opinion. I think their offensive line, even though they are down there a couple of tackles, I think they're a little bit more consistent than everybody else's line. Well, I know the Bengals line have been playing good this year, but if I had to choose a line, I think we would all choose the Browns line. They have the best running game. It all comes down to Baker and his health. And if he's not 100% healthy coming back, I'm not. They'll only be able to go as far as their run game takes them. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are going to be the biggest. They're good if they get to the playoffs. They're going to be the biggest reasons offensively why they get to the playoffs. They can't rely on Baker Mayfield to win games. He just has to be the reason why they don't lose games. He doesn't have to be the reason why they win games. He just has to be the reason. Just have to be the reason why they don't lose games. Just really, they have to really go extra harder.
You, Uncle Frank. NFL and NFLPA are discussing multiple week postpones. So a lot of games from week 15 might be postponed.
That changes a lot. If that goes through, that will definitely change.
I think that benefits the Browns more if they got a chance to get healthy on offense and a couple pieces on defense. And I definitely got them coming out and being the playoff team in that division. I still think that the another team in that division will make the playoffs in the wild card. I'm not sold on the Bills. I think the Bills have shown the league their true colors. I think they're just going to keep on going downhill. I think the AFC North will send two teams to the playoffs this year. That's my big prediction.
Yeah, I don't think one's coming out of ours. I think Cowboys, and that's it.
I agree.
I think postponement is because, like what me and Roy were saying before, we want to see
the teams at 100%.
Teams at full strength against each other. Like, I would rather wait so that I could see your best starters against my best starters. Like, I would enjoy that more, even if I have to get it. If I have to wait for that, I would prefer that than play now with all these backups and whatever. And like, yeah, if I between waiting or that, I wouldn't want to wait. So
I wonder if they say what games. Let me see.
Yeah. While you're checking that out, man, I'll just go ahead and just say, Uncle Frank, you did a great job just explaining that whole AFC North, man. I mean, if there's one thing about the AFC North, then they're consistent in, it's inconsistency. I mean, these teams have dropped so many games. I mean, every team, this is not limited to anyone in that division. I mean, you have the Ravens who have won almost half their games on last second field goals. I mean, a couple of those games go a different way, and who knows, there might be in last place in that division. And then you have, Cleveland, Baker Mayfield struggles. They win games when they're not supposed to, and they lose games when they're supposed to win. So it's confusing. The Steelers, we ain't gonna talk about them. They're the same deal. They play down. The Steelers are notorious for playing down to their competition, and that showed in the Detroit game immensely. And then you have Cincinnati, to where you have Joe Burrow running for his life back there, and so it's all these teams are inconsistent, every single one.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised who comes out of it. Browns do have a good chance, but I don't think nobody even answered the question. What do you see the Browns season ending this year? And I'm gonna say, if they make it, they would. If they make it, if they win the division, they get the bye, right?
No,
they do not.
No.
I think they get a home game.
They have to play in the wild card.
Yeah. Well, technically, yeah, but only one team gets a bye this year, right? Only,
I believe so.
Yeah, the top seed,
first in the conference to get the bye.
So so from both conferences.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think they'll lose in the wild card game.
I think I got them losing to Tennessee, losing to my Titans in the wild card, to be honest, if I had to choose.
I answered my question. I see the season ending in the wild card.
Yeah.
Because I just don't trust Baker. He's only thrown through 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's 23rd ranked in touchdowns, 7 ranked in interceptions. But I mean, I know he's hurt. But like I said before, a lot of players are hurt. I'm not taking the hurt thing as a end all be all. If you're going to be out there on the field, then you have to play to win the game. And if you cannot play to win the game, then they need to take Baker out. They need to let him sit, and they need to figure out a way that y'all can still make the playoffs and then put Baker back in and give you guys the best chance of winning. Because even like you just said, GK, if you want both teams to play 100%, well, if COVID didn't hit and they play this Sunday, guess what? Baker isn't 100%, so both teams are still not even playing 100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, and the Browns defense, let me just say, if they do make it to the playoffs, I don't want to look like, make it seem like I'm just sneezing over the Browns. Like, that defense is still good enough to lead them as far as they want to go in the playoffs. I do agree that it's going to come down to Baker, but
do you think Baker can have an
looking at that team, looking at how that team is built, they can definitely they always can make a run. They're built to run the ball. That team, they're built to run the ball, stop the run, and defend well on deep passes. And they can still do that with or without Baker. It's just Baker has to do a better job not being the reason why they lose games. That's all. And I mean, he's hurt right now, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to throw too much dirt on him because he's playing hurt. But if he gets healthy, I trust him a lot more than I trust a Kirk Cousins or a Josh Allen, to be honest, or even a Derek Carr type.
Yo, Uncle Frank, let me say also, I mean, I know Roy already said it, but your whole breakdown of the division was fire, right? And what you just said.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, what you just said, that that I feel like that's the difference maker. And before all this COVID crap, that's why I like the Browns the best, because like, what can you lean on, right? Like you said, all Baker would have had to do is just not screw it up.
Yeah.
Versus like
It's easy to sound.
Burrow is going to have to do a lot. Like he's going to have to do way more than just not screw it up. He's going to have to make plays because his O-line is awful and his defense is shaky. And then, but that's why this whole division's really cool, right? Because the Ravens, schematically, their defense is exotic. They give you all these different looks and this and that, but they're not healthy. So they're relying a lot on scheme. And then the Steelers, their O-line is trash. But what they can rely on is they have one of the best coaches, arguably of all time, right? So that and Big Ben's a veteran. He's already won the Super Bowl before, so you have his brain. So like those are two things that you can rely on, especially this time of year, because been there, done that. Like he knows what it takes to win in this time of year. He knows what he's going to be looking at. He knows what he's up against, and he knows what he's working with. So there's no doubts. Like he's fully aware, and Tomlin is fully aware of their situation, and that's the advantage that they have. So when you look at this division, anybody can win it, and they all have different advantages. So that is probably one of the most interesting divisions in football right now.
Yeah,
for real.
But yeah, I'm actually hoping that they do postpone so that so we get to see like the way it is supposed to be, and not this like asterisk type stuff.
Yeah, my prediction for this is if they wait this time for the Cleveland Browns to get healthy, they will make the playoffs. If they do not, they will not make playoffs. I think that decision determines whether or not Cleveland makes playoffs.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find out. So I'm gonna bypass the NFL picks for this week because I want to talk about some other stuff, and I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. So let's stay with football. Urban Myers gets fired as the Jaguars head coach after 1 year. Why did that happen?
You never should have been there in the first place.
Exactly. He didn't want to be there anyway.
He didn't want to be there?
I don't really think he did. And there was a lot of off-the-field issues, too, that contribute to it. Because I've seen coaches that have had, one bad take with a team that's been bad 1 year, but they still, they still keep them around. I mean, just as the Jets coach and the Giants coach, Judge, because they suck, but they haven't fired him yet. But
and we're keeping Judge around another year.
Yeah, I know. But Meyer, because there was a lot off the field issues that I think may have contributed to his firing after 1 year, even 100%. Though that we knew he was going to take the from worst to first in 1 year anyway. But with all what happened, I'm not surprised he got fired by that.
Yeah, I mean, the expectations for this team were extremely low already, but somehow he managed to go below that. I don't know how he did it, but Urban Meyer finds a way. And he touched on the off the field stuff. I mean, it's way deeper. I mean, it goes even deeper, which is bad to say because off the field stuff, okay, no, but the off the field stuff was terrible. I mean, he got caught up with that, that thing with the woman in like week 2. Okay, that's not exactly a strong way to start off your relationship with the team. And then he started over time. The players started turning against him, and when the players turn against the coach is always the first to go. And this was not an undeserved firing. I think this was past due. I didn't even see him be there past week 6. I don't understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Jaguars organization in itself is a terrible franchise. They are run by he's not a good owner. We know that this is no diss, but no surprise. Not a good owner. From the top down, if your owner's leadership is not good, you're not going to have a good franchise. So I think that Urban Meyer should have been gone before. And, they came out with that report that he kicked Josh Lambo. You kicked the kicker. In what world? I don't even know. Those are allegations. Who knows? But I must have had some truth to it if he got fired. The kicker. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It must have been some truth to it if he got fired the very next day. I don't know. I don't make assumptions, but that Jaguars team, man, it's terrible because I kind of looked to them improving. This is supposed to be the year. It's a rebuild year. We know we weren't expecting this team to go to playoffs, win the division, none of that. We were expecting them to have those oh, this is time for our young rookies to grow. Let James Robinson, a running back, get better because he did amazing last year. Let Trevor Lawrence develop. It seems like every time they took one step forward, they took 5 steps back.
Yeah.
To follow on with what Roy just said, I think the nail in the coffin was when Trevor Lawrence actually came out, and then he spoke in support of his teammate, and that statement he made by saying that there's something needed to change within the organizations, or something needed to change fast, something in that regard. When he hinted towards Urban Meyer, I think that was the nail in the coffin, because I don't think Khan was ready to just let him go. I think Khan was just trying to wait it out, see how things turned around. I don't think he was really eager to fire him. He was just trying to just see how things work out and see if it died down in the media, maybe. But once your new star quarterback comes out and speaks against your head coach, something definitely needed to change. And to be honest, I think that job is a perfect fit for Byron Leftwich, or even Kellen Moore. He seems to be like a quarterback guru. I know Dak may not be having a great season, but I don't think that's Kellen Moore's fault. I think him tutoring or teaching Trevor Lawrence or Byron Leftwich coming back home to coach the Jaguars, I think those two guys should be the favorites for the head coaching job.
Yeah, you make a good point with that Byron Leftwich one. I think he's really deserving of having a head coaching position more than,
and if you're gonna give
a
him
lot of
one,
other people.
why not at home?
Yeah, and I think this whole Urban Meyer thing just kind of goes back to, okay, some people are college coaches; they are not professional coaches. I mean, you look at Nick Saban. A lot of people don't even remember Nick Saban was a coach in the NFL. A lot of people don't even know that he was a coach in the NFL, and he flopped.
The Dolphins.
He flopped big time. So it's a different culture. It's a different style. Just because you're a good coach in one aspect does not mean you're a good coach in the other.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, well, oh, he did great in college, but when he went to the pros, boy, did this guy suck as a coach. I mean, it's happened time and time again in all sports. Just because you're good in one area doesn't mean you're good in the other.
Exactly.
And you got to have the character too to be able to lead men on the professional level. Like yes. I'm just hearing all of the stuff that happened and transpired just in his short tenure in the Jags. It makes you think about all of the stuff that transpired in Ohio State and in Florida during the Tebow time and the Terrell Pryor time. I wonder what he was really like behind the scenes, and him picking starting it off with I believe John or Jack Doyle, the trainer who was accused of the racial tone or the racial slander or whatever that happened. Him bringing him on for the Jags at the beginning of the year, that was just the tone setter for what was soon to come, or what happened just now. And I agree, he shouldn't have ever even been there from the rip.
I agree.
GK, you're quiet.
I honestly, the whole thing kind of upsets me and disappoints me because I had been an Urban Meyer fan previously, just because I had watched like all this behind the scenes stuff of how he ran practices at college, and that started getting me interested to following him a little bit. And then when he was going on his different championship runs and stuff, like the way he would call games and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I really like him, because he's like, all right, because in my head I'm like, all right, this is a really good opportunity to like take a deep shot right here, like let's run a go route one-on-one and just launch it and see what happens. And then he would, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I like his style, like I like how he thinks, I like his personality, how his personality translates to like his offensive play calling and stuff. And then even at practices, like he would do things like different drills. Like the one that stands out in my mind is like at the end of practice, he would just take a tire, grab two guys and be like, you and you. And then they both put their hands on the tire, and then they fight until one guy has the tire. And I'm like, oh, this is like the type of guy I would want to play for, right? Like, so I was really rooting for him to do well. And it's a shame that I do agree with all you guys that like the off-field stuff probably had a lot to do with it. And then the fact that he wasn't winning didn't help. And then the fact that we have these reports of the players not really liking what's going on and these different incidents and stuff. So it was kind of all a culmination of like all right, this has just got to come to an end. Like, this is the end of the line, right? But the one thing that stood out to me when you guys were talking about not every college coach can coach in the pros, although I do agree with that, let's think about the circumstances when that happens, right? Like, why is this college coach stepping into a head coaching position in the pros? Why? It's most likely because the coach of the team that they were stepping into was so bad and their team was so bad that that coach got fired. So they're walking into a situation where they're not really set up for success. They're walking into a situation where that franchise, that team, they sucked, right? So, you know, it's not like college coaches most of the time aren't walking onto a team that won the Super Bowl last year, you know, like that. So they're already, the odds are stacked against them. But so I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, it was time for Meyer to go, and that's probably his NFL career is probably over with forever. And
Agreed.
yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, also just a reminder, they signed him to a 5-year deal at the beginning of this season. 5 years, you know, 10, I think it was like 10 million, 12 million, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah,
lasted what, 13 games, what, 2-11?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's rough. Hard to keep that guy around.
I feel like though, if you would have taken any person and put them at the helm of coaching the Jaguars, like, how many wins are you really going to get?
I think they would have more than 2, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying this team would be a winning team or above 500 in any case, but I think they would have more than 2 wins just because, you know, you have that culture there. You got that losing culture. It takes someone to come in and change that culture.
Well,
Mhm.
You know,
to bring up, like, I like Byron Leftwich, but I wouldn't want him to go there because I feel like it would do more harm than good to his career, because even if he did his best job possible, I still feel like they're going to be a losing team, and then people are going to have the perception like, oh, Byron's not a good coach, which, you know, I wouldn't want that to happen to him.
I get what you're saying.
Or he
but
could be that coach that guys rally around. Like look at the Detroit Lions coach. Even though they have 1 win, you look at how that team plays for their coach every single day. I mean, every single week in, week out. I mean, they're not getting their doors blown off for every single game. A lot of those games they lost by field goals or they lost in overtime. That's just, and they don't have a ton of talent. You at least have some type of talent in the Jaguars on the defensive end to be able to, and even on the offensive end. I mean, Marvin Jones Sr., I mean, he's a legit wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't make him my number one. He's a solid number 2. They got some other James Robinson. He's a solid running back. I mean, their offensive line isn't terrible. They just don't. You just look. They don't play with any energy. They don't play with any type of heart. So if they had a coach that fired them up like that, I think that they could have definitely been better than what they were this year.
I agree with you. I think Byron would probably be a good guy for that. And I remember going back on what you said about, you know, might affect Byron's legacy and make him look bad. I would just disagree with that, just because, you know, he goes there. Let's say it doesn't go well. Okay, he just goes back to being a quarterback coach somewhere else. You know, he goes back to, you know, he can go back to his old job. You know, Urban Meyer doesn't have that luxury. No one's going to want Urban Meyer now.
No, not.
Mind you, Byron Leftwich just came from over there in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady and Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
So he's been surrounded by a great coaching staff. He was over there in Arizona. I mean, he definitely has the experience. He has the respect around the league. So I definitely think he deserves a chance at least.
Former player as well. Former player.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be their coach next year.
Yep.
Because he went 9-7 twice with the Lions, and I think he won 10 or 11 one year with the Lions. And then his only losing season, they went 7-9. So
who is this you're talking about?
Jim Caldwell.
Oh, Jim Caldwell. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would like him to be the Jags coach.
What do you think? Dan Quinn would be a good one there?
Where's Dan Quinn now?
Cowboys.
Oh, that's right.
Or defensive coordinator.
If the head coach bring in. I think it has to be a head coach that can mesh well with your quarterback, with the star, the guy that you're building the franchise around. So it has to be somebody who will have a good relationship with a quarterback. And I would love who better than a quarterback, a guy who played quarterback himself for that franchise.
Yeah.
He's been a quarterback coach, an offensive coordinator. I mean, he knows the league. He's not old. He's young enough to where he can relate to a lot of the players in the locker room. I think that they're definitely. I think it'll be a great culture change if they got him in there. A lot of people would like to come for and play for Byron Leftwich over there in the Jaguar.
I think so too. I agree with you.
And they got the owner. The owner, he's willing to spend the money.
Oh yes,
it's not nothing that he's not willing to spend to bring in or attract us some star talent. And if Trevor Lawrence can show and prove, I definitely think he can attract some free agents on the offensive end to come and play with him.
I think the thing that just makes it difficult though is just the culture of the Jaguars. They are just notorious for screwing over their players. Notorious for it. And that's why I think, like I said, it starts with the top, starts with Khan. I mean, you look at the whole Jalen Ramsey, Ngakwe, I mean, Josh Allen, you look at every single player that's been there, they've hated it there. Everyone that had star talent that was there hated playing there. I mean, you got to look, there's a trend there, and every single one says, I didn't like that organization. Well, is that really inspiring free agents to go and play there? Oh, hey, Jalen Ramsey hated it there. Maybe I'll like it there. Oh, Josh Allen hated it? Robert Ngakwe?
No.
A lot of that time was the Tom Coughlin era when he was in the head office. I mean, he was in the office. A lot of guys disliked Tom Coughlin around the league, and especially the way he was trying to run the league with an iron fist. Trying to do it in that organization who already wasn't accustomed to winning. I think that was the wrong piece at the wrong time. And luckily they got him up out of there. They're starting to change around the front office. So hopefully they can start by bringing in the right head coach this time around, and not a college guy who they think can help them transition easier. I think Byron Leftwich or Kellen Moore. Those are my two, or even Bielemy from Kansas City. Those I would even consider him as a head coach. So those three got to be the top options in my regard.
And let's not forget Urban Meyer brought in Tim Tebow experiment. Tight end, man. Come on, man. Come on, that was pathetic. That was just favoritism.
That's disrespectful as a player, as a guy who's already been playing.
That's what I'm saying.
These past couple of years. That's a slap in the face to those type of guys who's been competing, and a guy who hasn't played 6-7 years, and let alone 6-7 years at that position, and you want to bring him in and give him a chance. That I think that was. The right was on the wall.
It was. That's what I'm saying. You start on the wrong foot with it's like every wrong move that could have been made was made. So it's like, everything. Why would you deserve to stay there, even for as long as he was there?
Anything to add, Lewis?
No, I just think there was a big mistake there, and adding Tebow, the ultimate disaster right there. That was
That was
DOA, dead on arrival.
Also, this just in, the Raiders and Browns game got postponed to Monday.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't say what games were being postponed.
Wow.
They just said it right now.
Good.
Wow. Is that the only game?
So that's all that just came out right now. So maybe
it just came out right now. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
Bleacher Report just dropped it.
Yes.
And they said Sean Payton tested positive.
Oh,
Anthony Edwards is in protocol.
Said it once, I'll say it again. COVID's putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers right now.
Yeah.
I got one more topic before we get to final thoughts. All right, we're gonna get you guys out of here
Hit
soon.
me.
So final topic is the news is Kyrie can play part-time for the Nets. Good thing or bad thing?
No.
You said no?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over.
Yeah, it's good for the Nets. I mean, if you're a Nets fan, it's good for the Nets, but overall, I just think it sends a bad look to the league if you let him play on.
If I like Patty Mills, I'm like, no, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Like I was here when you had nobody, and now you're gonna take half.
But that's not true. They didn't have nobody. A mandate stopped Kyrie from playing. All right, let's keep that 100% honest. A mandate in the city that he played in stopped him from playing. Now I would agree with Frank, and I would agree with you, GK, if Kyrie was just like, hey, I'm going on another sabbatical like he did last season. He's not doing that. He's not doing that. He wants to play. And the only way they can play him is on away games because he's not going to take what he needs to take to play fully.
Right.
I don't blame him for that. I'm not blaming him for that. I'm not going to say that's on Kyrie. It's his body. Nobody owns his body. His body. He can do what he wants with his body. All right. But to have him back part-time, I agree with Frank. That's a big thing for the Knicks. For the Nets, especially in the playoffs when they're going to play on the road. Because at home, I think James Harden and KD could handle it. On the road, they might need a little bit more, and Kyrie might just be that helping hand.
I think so too. They're doing fine with them at home, but on the road, yeah, I think they're getting all the muscle they can get, especially if they're going to.
Frank, you frozen, bro.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Especially frozen. First person in the division.
Yeah.
I froze.
Yeah.
You hear me now?
I can hear
you. Got that robot voice.
Yeah, but your picture.
On low back. He needs to charge.
Right. He looked like he got stuck in time.
Look.
He was pondering
to a time warp.
I want to do that.
%. You need to charge me.
Wow.
But go ahead, Louis. You were saying something?
You guys are frozen. Ours is working. That's the crazy thing. We back in action?
Yeah, you said your voice is back in action, but your picture is not.
Yo, that's weird. On my phone, everything's working fine. I see you guys. Yep.
This is a bad breakup. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, you frozen on both my computers.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll go ahead and touch on the Nets with Kyrie, man. So I don't even think ownership's even a fan of that whole idea of the part-time stuff. They've come out and they've said, time and time again that we're not here for part-time players. But the caveat to that is I would try to trade him, get something out of it. The places he could go are limitless as long as they don't have any mandates, but I think, he can be big if he wants to come around for the, playoff time. Or what if he wants to play in the All-Star game? Would he be invited to that? How would that work?
No, he didn't play. He didn't get invited to the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's true. But
Fred
would he be eligible? Would he be eligible? Who knows?
No, he's not going to be eligible, but Fred VanVleet will.
I just think Brooklyn needs to get something out of him.
That's true. They do. If they want to, because I think they could win a chip this year without Kyrie. I think they can as well. I believe they could do it with James Harden, KD, and the supporting cast they got. It's just going to take them role players to really step up and get what they need to get together, especially LaMarcus Aldridge. Because I feel like the Nets, they run on KD and Harden, but if LaMarcus is off, they're losing the game. Mm-hmm. LaMarcus has to be on for them to win, so they're gonna need some big guys to step up. I don't mind the part-time. I would like to see Kyrie come back and help his team. But yeah, ultimately, like you said, the team did say earlier they didn't like it, but now they're telling him because they have been in contact with him and KD about him returning. So I would say we just have to wait and see. I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and one thing we know about Kyrie, man, is he's true to himself. Regardless of how you feel about the situation, Kyrie stands and dies on every hill he believes in. And we saw that in Boston and Cleveland. Even when it wasn't related to health, it was just his own mental health and well-being and stuff like that. He's always valued that, and he's always valued himself, which I think you should. At the end of the day, the only person that cares about you is yourself. So, I think, I don't know what's going to happen with the situation. It could go plenty of ways, but I would just, trade him and get something out of him while you still can.
I just think it's unfair. It would be unfair if they let him play on the partial. Because if that's the case, they should have let Andrew Wiggins play on the partial, but he had to go and get the
But
COVID
that's
shot.
Andrew Wiggins' decision. Andrew Wiggins changed his mind and decided to go get it.
But
that's on Andrew. That's not on Kyrie.
But that's what I'm saying. Kyrie
just not changing his mind.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But initially, that's what it was because for me he didn't want to change his mind, but he had to if he wanted to play. And he was obviously he's not making the money that Kyrie, so I'm sure he can't afford to take the losses that Kyrie takes with him not playing in certain games. So he had to address that avenue a different way. So that's my biggest reason why I think it's unfair, because a lot of the other players who probably could have played on the
No,
partial,
there's players
but
that's not
they
vaccinated
didn't. They
that's
went and
playing.
got
Bradley
they
Beal.
went and got COVID shot. What happened?
I said Bradley Beal isn't vaccinated and he's playing,
He's also
All
in
right.
Washington though.
but he also plays.
Yeah, but that's what I'm
he
saying.
also
But
plays in Knicks games and Nets games when he's in New York.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, like, are we just kind of? I don't know. That's what makes it weird because like, are we picking and choosing here, or like, what's the
Yeah.
criteria for
I trust
it?
Adam Silver to get it right. I think Adam Silver is one of the greatest commissioners in any league, in any sport. So I trust
I
him to
agree.
figure it out.
I agree.
And whatever he
Yes, he's a great
chooses,
commissioner.
I'll go off.
He stepped
I'll
in
go
for
off
Donald.
him.
What was the guy? Donald Stern.
Yeah,
Stepped in.
Yeah.
He stepped into for him, and it was like nothing like.
Well, he was
like
able to.
everybody the league changed.
Yeah,
But I-
because everyone.
He's
Go
got
ahead.
like ego. He's like open-minded. He's like willing to listen to like everybody's perspective, and then he's willing to say like, all right, let me think about every different type of idea, like what's going to be best for everybody, and then he like tries to consider all factors and make like what he thinks is going to be the best decision for everyone, and puts his ego aside. So that's what
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a great commissioner, man. I mean, I can think everyone agrees that he's better than how David Stern was.
Mhm.
I mean,
David
you just
Stern
look
was
at
strict.
you just look how it comes when when they do the draft and they always come out and like as soon as David Stern walked out that
Yes,
curtain,
sir.
man, he was getting hit with boos like no one's business. And when it comes to Adam Silver, they still boo because it's just like tradition. It's just what it's just what you do.
Yeah.
But it's not like oh, you suck. It's like, oh, we do this because it's just fun. So I mean, like you could tell even just fan perception of Adam Silver. I mean, Adam Silver works so close with these players.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he's not. And David Stern was the complete opposite. He was the
But
type of what I say
he
goes.
understands it's more of a players' league.
Exactly. Than an owners league. I agree with you. So
Owners
it's
don't
good
have
that he
much
has that
control. You
relationship.
might think
though.
they do, but they don't. When players went out, they literally get the league. Whether they got a year left on their contract, 5 years left on their contract, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, and especially Adam Silver has to kind of give them a little bit more because you can have a baseball situation right like how they are right now, having a lockout. If the
76ers think they're going to win this battle with Ben Simmons, they're sadly mistaken.
No.
Because the more they wait to trade him, the easier it's going to be to get him.
Then to LA, you heard it first over here. Then to LA.
Well, they all said that the LA is looking to move Russ. Sixers are looking to move Ben, and somebody else is up for the talks too. It's another point guard.
Really quick, let me just say the Nets absolutely need Kyrie to win a championship. James Harden in the playoffs cannot be trusted whatsoever. And as you've seen last year, KD can only take them so far. I mean, especially if you're going deep into the rounds with how good these Eastern Conference teams have gotten better. The Eastern Conference has gotten better over last year, I believe so. It's going to be a lot tougher for them, for KD to get to the playoffs.
Last year, Nets versus Bucks.
Those first round games, this coming up playoffs is going to be a lot tougher than I think that a lot of people expect.
Yeah, because the Bulls
I think it's
going
to be a couple more upsets in the first round.
The Cleveland might be there.
Mm-hmm.
The Wizards
and some of those lower teams are tough now, so
the Knicks might not.
They're gonna need everything on. Oh yeah, the Knicks. Huh?
Don't sleep on this Cleveland team, man. This Cleveland team is hot.
My Boston might not be there.
I said Cleveland was gonna die down, and they proved me wrong. They definitely proved me wrong.
But Cleveland didn't die down, but the Wizards did.
That was just a matter of time, man. They're starting to show their maturity as well.
They're gonna start losing games. The good teams are gonna start beating them. They're gonna beat the bad.
Cleveland got the veterans. They got some nice, solid veterans over there. That's why I trust Cleveland a whole lot more than I trust the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards are going off. They're just going off young talent right now, fresh young talent. And when those guys are off, they are off over there in Washington. I think I trust Cleveland a little better.
Westbrook to Sacramento for Buddy Hield.
Listen, I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's who they should have picked up in the first place.
Yep.
What?
I said that might be. I said it might be done. I said it might. That might be done.
Okay, I'm about to say,
especially with how Buddy Hield is playing this year. Yeah, no.
They should have never brought in Westbrook. They should have never. I've been saying this since day one. They should have never brought in Westbrook. They should have went and got a shooter who was looking to get moved like Buddy Hield because that's what they need. And it obviously shows that they made the wrong decision with Westbrook. I've been saying this for weeks. I said it on your show last time, the time before that. Westbrook is not
stuck
good
with
for
him,
this
though.
team. He might be stuck with them, but
He
he's
might
not
be
a
stuck
good
'cause of that
fit for this
contract.
team.
The only other contract you think who's going to take Westbrook's contract? The only worst contract in the NBA is John Wall's. And look, Houston can't move him.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to take John Wall's contract. You think somebody's now going to make another trade with the Lakers to take Westbrook's contract?
I think teams will be a little bit more reluctant to I would think they'll be a little bit more reluctant to take John Wall if he was playing a little bit more. If he was actually playing, teams could actually see what he's doing and see where he's at right now. He's been on the bench, so that's why they're at least been in talks with at least trying to get him back on the court to see what he does.
Yeah, no,
to hopefully boost up his value some.
No, I felt
because if it's
he ain't coming back.
Not.
Nah, because John Wall went.
Well,
to
hopefully
them,
they got a chance.
John Wall went to them and was like, "I want to play. What can I do to play?" And it was like, "All right, we want to grow our young players, so you got to come off the bench and a veteran role, but you're probably not going to get that many minutes." And he was like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah,
but I think even if he was playing full-time starter minutes, and even if he was playing very well,
his contract is still hard to
move a $40 million player regardless. You can't do that. Like if you have a $40 million player, you're stuck with him. Like
you weren't supposed to be home. I just see the doors open.
Why was I supposed to be here?
I didn't know Monica said you're friends.
Oh my God, Monica knows I'm actually on a
Look
podcast.
at your
All right, I muted him. Go ahead, GK.
Yeah, no, the only type of situation where I might see that they might be able to do that, and I don't even know if it would work financially, would be like Simmons for Wall or something like that. But yeah, like regardless of if he's having a lights out season or not, like to move a $40 million player, like who's gonna want him, who's gonna need him, or who can afford to take that on? Like I just don't think, it's just a terrible, like you said, the worst contract in the league. Because you sign him to $40 million, like you got to play him 30 minutes as your starter, and that's that. There's no trading him, there's no benching him, there's no nothing. Like
Wall might be stuck in Houston too. So
yeah, I mean, this John Wall contract reminds me of two contracts in the past. It reminds me of the Chandler Parsons contract.
Parsons.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even remember him, but Chandler Parsons, he could not get moved for nothing. He got paid. He was one of the best players in the NBA. And also another contract reminds me of is like.
Him down.
Yeah, but that's kind of the same with Wall, right? So, and then you also have I think of the Luol Deng contract, with
the
Bulls, yeah, which followed him throughout his whole career.
Wasn't the Heat still paying him after he left?
They've been paying him for 5 years after he's been retired.
I wish
5 years after he's been retired, he still got paid. I don't know who his agent is, but he deserves a raise. And that's what the Wall situation is
on
like.
his show, but
yeah, but that's what Wall's looking like. It's looking like Wall's contract is going to be ranked in there with the Chandler Parsons.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Wall, they ain't gonna move you, bro. You can't play. You would not just retire, let them pay me off, and then fucking go overseas.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, no way.
Get your bread. Get your bread and dip.
He's not gonna be moved.
No one's gonna want him unless he restructures his contract, which is he is not gonna do if he has. No,
John Wall wants that money because he knows there's no chance for him to be a top elite player anymore.
Exactly.
This is the NBA. There's always going to be bad contracts. You just got to wait it out. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's a bad contract around the league. I think you just got to give it some time. Who knows? I mean, you just got to add a couple players. I think John Wall, I would trade him for Kemba Walker, or you feel me, or a type of player like that. Kemba Walker and a couple more pieces. You get him, or try to get him over there in Indiana. Try to get him in Indiana for a couple pieces.
Houston's going to do the same thing to Kemba as they do to John Wall.
There's a lot of places. I don't know. I don't think
so.
John Wall is a $40 million gamble.
Yeah, John Wall is a gamble because you don't know. Last season he put up good numbers though. Don't get that mistaken. When he played last year, he was good.
That's what I'm saying.
So
John Wall. We all know John Wall isn't a scrub, and we don't think we all know that it's not his play why he's not playing. It's the contract, and it's the contract, and that team they want to get younger. They want to get their younger guys some more experience. I believe we all know that it has nothing to do with his play. It just has to find the right system, the right team that's going to take that chance on him. There's plenty of bad contracts around the league. I mean, eventually I could see the Sixers giving in and trading for Ben Simmons, getting a young player like Ben Simmons over there in the Rockets. I mean, that somewhat works. Or you could use Ben Simmons as a moving piece, the Rockets, if you want to add another team to the trade. I mean, I think there's always plenty of scenarios and situations that you can trade that type of guy into. I mean, look at the Timothy Mozgov. The Lakers thought we'd never get rid of that Timothy Mozgov deal, and we managed to get from up under there. So I mean,
Frank, though,
who knows, man? And maybe John Wall might be willing to take a pay cut if he go to the right team.
Well,
I don't think so.
It's like, dude, if you were talking 15 to 25 million, it's a totally different story. Like he's getting 40. Like that could be like 3 role players that play 20 minutes a game. Like that could be 2 fringe stars. Like 40 million is a lot, man. Like 40 million is like you need to single-handedly.
I get it.
40 million is different than 15, 20 million.
Yeah, might as well take that money and invest.
That's why I said they have to add a couple peoples in the trade. It'd have to be like a somewhat of a blockbuster trade as far as getting the money up together. But I think it's possible. I still think it's teams that will trade for John Wall.
You're gonna probably need a 5-team.
Like a 3-team, a team that's willing to take on some money.
Get more teams in there.
You're gonna have to have 3 to 5 teams in that.
Because someone has to eat that. Someone has to eat that. You know.
But if you're a GM, right? Yeah. GM, what makes you say, all right, I'm gonna get John Wall in this $40 million tag, and I'm gonna live or die for the next 2 to 3 years off of that, and no GM's gonna want to do that because
that's why I said he might be.
If this Kyrie situation doesn't clear up, if you don't have if there's not clear whether Kyrie is coming back to play or whether he wants to play, because it's obvious that he wants to be traded. If they trade him, he'll retire. So I don't
think so. I think it depends on what.
Is it possible? Is it possible? But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but could Brooklyn even take on that contract?
No, Brooklyn can't take on that contract.
Yeah. They can add a couple. That's what I'm saying. You add a player or two, another big contract on that deal, and you maybe can get a piece, get another team that'll take on some of that money because they're gonna need something, especially if Kyrie is uncertain.
Should the Nets go get Kemba?
I don't think
so. I would look at a couple more options before I went to Kemba.
The Nets, all the money is with Durant and Harden.
That's what I said. They don't got no money.
Exactly. Everybody else on the team is making like minimum wage so that they can play with those guys. So like you can't even package people to.
How much is Kyrie making a year?
He doesn't have a max.
Yeah. I think like the next highest paid person's probably like what, Joe Harris or something like that. Like, who else would it be that would have somewhat decent money? That's
you can't get rid of Joe contract.
Harris. No, Joe Harris is a staple of that team. He's a staple of that team. Exactly.
Oh, listen, dude. Listen, I'm gonna tell you guys right now. Harden's getting 44 million. Durant is getting 40 million. Kyrie is getting 35 million. Joe Harris is getting 17. Patty Mills is getting 5. Everybody else is getting less than that. So you can't be like, oh, well, yeah, we'll go get John Wall. Well, if you want John Wall, you got to give up Durant. Like, if you want John Wall, you got to give up Joe Harris, Patty Mills, Bruce Brown, Javon Carter, LaMarcus Aldridge.
But you can give up Kyrie
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. You can give up Kyrie and another piece, or you can find another team to take on the rest of that money. Like there's other ways that you can find a way to split that money, and who knows? Maybe if John Wall gets the okay to go to the Nets, and if they ask him to take a pay cut, I think he'll take a pay cut to play with James Harden and Kevin Durant to get a championship.
It's a ring in place, and he know he'll make more.
That's what I'm saying.
He'll make a lot more
the right
money
situations. I
think
think
with a ring and winning in New York.
Exactly, especially in that market, in the New York Brooklyn market.
Added to his resume as well.
If I guess you're already in a bad situation, but I was going to say, if you're Houston, why would you want to get rid of one problem for what could potentially be the same exact problem where you got a $35 million player that could just decide whenever he wants, well, I'm not playing this week or today or this year or like.
That's what I said. Yeah, you can use if you traded for Kyrie. My only reason would be to trade for Kyrie was to use Kyrie as trade bait. I don't think Kyrie would be a fit. I wouldn't look for Kyrie to stay in Houston at all. If you add another team, you use him as trade bait and you send him somewhere else. Or just like a Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons might fit better in Houston if they build around him and Jalen Green. But you use a guy like that as a trading piece to get more pieces. I think that's what those type of guys lead to.
So here's the thing is what people don't realize with both of those guys' value, with Ben Simmons' value, because the way the Sixers value Ben Simmons is just by what he's shown on the floor, right? Which they probably could get what they want based on that. But how about based on the fact that, well, this is a guy that we don't know if we can count on, and if he just don't feel like playing, he's not going to play. You're doing that to the Sixers. How do we know you're not going to do that to us?
See, and that's different. I don't like when you use that. There's a reason why Ben is doing what he did for the Sixers.
No, I understand that.
Did the Nets, hold on, GK, did the Nets think the same thing about James Harden? Your point that you're making right now about Ben doing all this, James Harden did the same thing in a smaller sample. Did the Nets then be like, oh, I don't know if we want James because he could come over here fat, not play, and then we got to get rid of him? No, they didn't, because they knew, and the front office knew why James was doing that. Every front office around the NBA knows that Ben is valuable. Ben has trade value, but they don't want to pay that for Ben. So what they're going to do is let Ben sit there, let Ben antics continue, and to the 76ers have no choice but to trade him. And then you go, okay, I'll give you a Tyler Higbee, and then you give me him. Like, you give him a nobody. That's what teams want right now. That's what's being reported out of front offices, that they're not going to make a big trade. They're not going to give up a Dame Dollar, a CJ McCollum for him, because they know they can pay less for him if they just continue to wait.
Exactly.
I agree with you. But
so it's hard to be like, for a team to be like, oh, damn, Ben's over there doing this. I don't know if I want Ben. People are going to be like, no, I want Ben. I'm just not going to pay what the 76ers is.
Oh, yeah. No,
he's still only like 24. He's like 24, 25.
100%, Troy, I agree 100% with you, but that's what I was saying is his value isn't like 2 superstars plus 5 first-round draft picks. Like they're asking
at the beginning. It was when he first asked for a trade. It was. Now it's not.
Well, yeah,
it's still high.
It's high, but it's not that high, bro. You're not getting a Dame, and you're not getting a CJ.
Well, no, but that's why, like you said, to your point, teams are waiting because they know that it's just going to keep getting lower.
I can give you the 5th guy off my bench, and I'll be good. I can get Ben.
Right. They just be like, yo, I'll just keep waiting another month, or however long.
Trade deadline is almost here. You're either going to
be going down. Exactly.
You should have took some of the offers you had in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. You waited too long.
Right.
You waited too long.
But yeah, but like you were saying about Harden, I think that's a little bit of a different situation because of the players on the roster. Yeah. So the front office maybe had more faith that Harden wasn't going to pull those antics because he was walking into all those other players on the roster that Harden fucks with. So he's not going to be pulling.
That could be true too, but you also got to think from a front office. Just because 2 guys are cool, don't mean they're going to play well together.
Well, no, that's
what they're going to get along on the court together.
Let's say, like, for example, you decide to take on Simmons and give up a lot for him. Maybe things go well for a year, right?
You got to switch his position though.
But then, like, let's say,
yeah,
in the offseason,
you got to
switch
or the
next year
on the Rockets.
I don't care.
I think that benefits them. If you take the ball out of Jalen Green's hand, I mean, they've been playing better without Jalen Green. So you get a legit ball handler.
In some situations, you need to.
They building shooters over there.
Put Ben where he's strong at, and that's the 3. Ben will be a monster at the 3 because all he has to do is slash and catch alleys. Doesn't need the ball in his hand. He can still do what he does. Go ahead.
But he's I mean, that's a whole different conversation. Like,
I think, yeah.
Go ahead, Roy.
I think Ben to Houston would be a great fit, to be honest with you. I think that'd be perfect because, I mean, look who they're building around. The best player on that team is Christian Wood. I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Christian Wood's a young talent. I mean, but the thing is, like, you don't want to give anyone up for him. Yeah, he's been going crazy. I mean, you said you got Jalen Green. He used to play for the Pistons. Yeah, he was pretty good. and he's still a younger guy. So I mean, like the pieces are kind of being set in place. It's just that John Wall contract is in the room and it is undeniable.
I don't think the 76ers, even though I do agree with both Roy and Uncle Frank, and I don't know if you think that he would fit good in Houston then. But does John Wall fit good with Embiid?
Probably not.
I don't think John Wall fits good anywhere. I hate to say that.
But John Wall is a baller, so don't take that away from John Wall.
John Wall can't. I don't look at him. I don't look at him as I look at a Russell Westbrook. But I think a Russell Westbrook would be a worse decision to go to Philly than a John Wall. John Wall can score. He can get his own. He can create his own boy, and he can pass. He plays on, and he plays solid defense on the end. He averages 1 or 2 steals. I think that'd be perfect.
Last year when he played with the Rockets, he did. So you got to go off the sample that he gave you. I'm just thinking if you put in John Wall and Embiid with all those shooters around Wall doesn't even have to do much because you got all those guys in Philly that can shoot the ball very well. He's just adding to it.
Okay, but if you take John Wall on your team, you are officially in a win now situation. You're officially, we have to win now because John Wall doesn't have much left.
I think Philly's already in a win now situation. They gotta be.
John Wall doesn't have much left, so you get him.
Embiid's gonna walk.
Exactly. You have to win now. If you're bringing John Wall to your team, win now.
Embiid's gonna walk. If they don't win now, Embiid will walk, and that's just the realization of it. You know, Embiid's not gonna be there by himself, dealing with his injuries and keep going through the things he's going through with no help. If they trade Ben, they got to get something for him that can help them win this year or next year.
Yes.
But then I still see it as, can they beat the Nets even without a Kyrie? Can they beat the Bucks? I don't think so. I think the Bucks got better adding Grayson Allen and Bobby Portis.
That Philly team is going to go as far as Joel takes them. And I think Joel is the number 1 or 2 best big man in the league by
Joel
far.
Is 2. So, I would put him behind Jokic.
He's 2. I put 2.
I put him behind
so I'm and when he's on, that guy is on. I mean, but it's just he got to stay healthy and his conditioning in the playoffs, that's going to be a big factor. They have to get a leader in that locker room.
Yeah.
Whether it be the head coach or whether it be a player, somebody has to come out as the leader of that team.
Joel sometimes has those tendencies to kind of fade away. That's why, like when you said, when he's on, and you are right. When that man is on, I would argue that there are times that he looks better. He looks better than Jokic. I mean,
absolutely.
But he has those times where he bring in a leader. If you bring in a nice, genuine leader to that team, he will get Embiid straight and say, "Look, man, you see how you play when you do these things." Man, we could do that all the time. We could win in the playoffs.
System in Philly is fucked too because Philly been doing
it's a bad organization
for a long time.
They had that type of player in Jimmy Butler, and they let him walk.
Jimmy, and they got the closest they got to the finals was with Jimmy. But it's not even Jimmy. It's you draft Okafor, you don't develop him the right way. Now he suffers in his game. You draft Nolan's Noels, you don't develop him right. Now he suffers in his game. You draft Marshall Fultz, now don't develop him right, and now he struggles in his game. But then these guys leave and they have okay careers on other teams that can utilize their strengths. 76ers don't do that. It's always the process. Nigga, maybe we don't want the process. Maybe we want you to get some players that don't need to go through a damn process.
The process failed. The process failed 100%.
It always fails.
Yes, I agree.
Fails. But let's get out of here, man. Final thoughts. Let's go. Final thoughts. What's your final thoughts? Lewis, what's your final thoughts?
Actually, no, I haven't any final thoughts, but I want to thank you for having me on.
Anytime, man.
Yeah, thanks. I hope to come back.
Yeah, we'll definitely set something up. Uncle Frank, final thoughts.
Like always, tighten up. My Michigan Wolverines. We got a couple weeks until we right back at them against Georgia. Hopefully we can pull off the W there. Everybody, I'm pretty sure, just like the rest of you guys, I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on the rest of these games, these postponed games. Eventually, I'll give my opinion on the football thing once I figure out what's going on with that. But yeah, just like OG Lou said, thanks again for having me on the show, man. Appreciate you guys.
You're a staple. Everybody here is a staple of the show, so I can't fix my.
Sir.
So Roy, remember I told you, Roy, that it's gonna fuck up. So I had to do the other one. I didn't do the 4 people one. So now all the screens are jumping. So I gotta get it together. Look, I'll show you real quick because I can always edit it out. Everybody's everywhere. Look, I got a half screen in mine. GK's pushed more to the right. Roy's not even. Look at Roy.
I'm in 2 screens.
Look at Roy.
What's up?
Roy.
I look like Ali. I'm bobbing and weaving over here. What you know?
Nah, so what I have to do is, so this is on 5 people because he dropped out. I'm supposed to be able to just click this and go to 4, but I didn't set the rest of the boxes up because you guys took a while to get in here, so I didn't go back and do it.
Are you gonna have to edit this out?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to just use the Zoom version of this video. So it's fine. It's just me trying to get it. But definitely next episode, I'm gonna have this thing up and running 100%. But I wanted to see how it worked today. So, you know, I can get an idea of what I need to fix with it and stuff like that. But final thoughts, GK.
Yeah, no, I hope that you know, the NFL figures out this COVID stuff, whether it be through postponements or, you know, just naturally things just getting better where people can stop catching it or whatever. Because nobody wants to win because, well, the other team, they all have COVID and they're sick, or they either can't play or they're too sick to play or whatever the case. And that's, you know, now we're winning. Like, no one wants that. So hopefully that gets all figured out and pans out the way it's supposed to. And then the other thought I had was, I didn't get to mention before when we were talking about Kyrie, is it ties in with the younger generation. I feel like when we were comparing to Wiggins, like sacrifice, right? Like, yeah, Kyrie doesn't want to get vaxxed, but like, and I know that would be a huge sacrifice, but so maybe not that one specifically, but like just any sacrifices in general.
I get what you're saying.
Sometimes you got to just take one for the team. Like, you got all these guys to come here
exactly
together and win a championship.
I totally agree.
This particular one is a really big deal, so I get that. But even if it was something else,
yeah, if it was something smaller, I think Kyrie would definitely sacrifice for Kevin Durant. Definitely, I think he would. But I think I think people bother him.
Oh, you never know with Kyrie.
That's what I was about to say. You never know because he went on 2 sabbaticals last year.
And that's what I mean. So there's a trend with, like, if something doesn't go their way, or they can't have it the way they want it, or they can't have it now, they just give up so easily, and they're not willing to like suffer. They're not willing to be like, suck one up and take one on the chin or take one for the team just to, you know, ultimately get through that. They would rather just abandon it, like, rather than, you know, I don't know, like, all right, I'm just going to have to do something I don't want to do. And that's that. I feel like they don't do that. So that's my final thought.
My final thoughts is I really want my Steelers to beat your Titans, man.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. To be honest, I ain't even gonna hold you. It seems like y'all tend to have our number from time to time. You know, those games against y'all are tricky.
I think I have another final thought. I'll share that in a second, but I think it's gonna be end on a field goal, and I think our Boswell's been kicking pretty good recently. I mean, he kicks better than Urban Meyer does to his kicker. So I think
trash.
I just had to get that in there, but my other thought is,
I caught that.
So I also want to give a little shout out to Florida State, man. Oh my gosh. We lost a 5-star recruit. We lost a 5-star recruit, man. I'm very frustrated, and it hurts even worse that we lost him to Deion Sanders, man. A Florida State native.
Know, right?
Oh, that sucks. Mike Norvell, you deserve to get fired. That's all.
All right, guys.
Y'all be back. Y'all always got a good draft class, though.
Yeah, always.
Or a recruiting class.
So yeah, don't nobody leave. All right, don't leave. I want to talk to you guys before you go. All right. So thank you guys for watching, man. It's been another episode of From the Sideline podcast, man. We want to thank Lewis, even though he dipped on us. He didn't wait till we finished the show. He dipped on us, but we want to thank him for stopping by. Maybe next month sometime we'll have him back on because he does give us that little bit of old knowledge, and that's what I was looking for from him.
Yes, sir.
He's different than all of us. He does come from an older time, so I was looking for him to talk more on that knowledge. Next time I'm gonna have him, though, because I think I am gonna have him back. We're gonna definitely get into some old topics, some Wilt, some Bill Russell, some Kareem, and players like that. But now I just want to thank you guys, man. Appreciate you guys coming. Appreciate you guys being here. And yeah, that's all, man. We out. Peace.
Thanks.
Oh.